For the top.
Idaho, the side of 1AA semifinal playoff game number 2. It's the 12-1 Thundering Herd of Marshall against the 12-1 Boise State Broncos. And good afternoon, everybody. Along with Jim Ryan, I'm Drew Goodman. The Thundering Herd of Marshall has absolutely dominated 1AA football the last few years. In fact, they've played for a national championship the last 3 years, won it in 1992. Boise State won a national title all the way back in 1980, but Jim Ryan, the last couple of years, they've struggled.
Yeah, two programs coming from different directions. Last year, Pokey Allen takes over. Boise State goes 3-8. 94, completely different, 12-1. That is the second best turnaround in 1AA history. Marshall, on the other hand, Jim Donnan in his 5th year has built a dynasty. In the last 4 years, this is the 15th playoff game that this team has played. One thing that's different, though, only the second time Marshall has had to go on the road in the playoffs, and it's a long way from Huntington, West Virginia to Boise. We'll see how they handle it.
Yeah, I don't think the Union Pacific Railroad has that route on their map. The Thundering Herd and Boise State, two prolific offenses. We first look at Marshall. They have a great quarterback, the coach's son, Todd Donnan, and one of the best running backs in college football in Chris Parker.
Todd Donnan, Southern Conference Offensive Player of the Year, 31 touchdowns, just 11 interceptions. He's not going to beat you with his arm strength or with his leg strength, but what he does is impress you when he gets under center and leads that team. Parker, his biggest asset is his strength. He likes to run people over.
And for Boise State, we also focus in on the quarterback and tailback combination. Tony Hildy's just a sophomore, very athletic. Casey Adams, a junior college transfer. He's had a great year.
Different skills for this set of offensive players. Hildy, over 3,200 yards passing, but a good runner also, and a tough guy. He was drafted in baseball, but they say he's a football guy. And then Casey Adams, the newcomer of the year in the Big Sky Conference, different than Parker because he's got lateral moves, a stop-and-go runner. He's not going to run over anybody. He's going to run around them.
Youngstown State has already moved along to the championship game. It'll be either Boise State or Marshall again. We'll get it up in the air right after this. And we are set for semifinal game number 2 in the 1AA playoffs. Marshall has won the toss. They want the football. And Boise State lined up on their blue turf. Maybe the only blue turf in college football. Pokey Allen in his 2nd year had a great run at Portland State. And what a turnaround, as Jim mentioned, 3-8 a year ago. They are 12-1 right now, are the Broncos. And on the other sideline, Jim Donnan. He's been everywhere in college football. As a head coach, he's had a terrific run with the Thundering Herd of Marshall in Huntington, West Virginia. And that is the man they'd like to see handle the football, Tim Martin. He is very, very dangerous, averages close to 23 yards a return. Got great speed, just a sophomore from Soddy Daisy, Tennessee. And Greg Erickson into the football. And it's in the direction of Chris Parker from the 2. And Parker met about the 22-yard line and dropped there by Jeremy Hayner, a backup linebacker from right here in Boise. There's Todd Donnan. Special relationship with his dad, Jim Donnan. Doesn't have a big arm, but a guy that is very accurate underneath and knows exactly what his dad wants him to do. And that doesn't surprise you. He's been around football his whole life.
Threw for 64% on the year. And
quick snap. Parker's got about 3 or 4. He was tackled from behind by Matt Weston. Let's check the offensive unit for the Thundering Herd of Marshall. Again, 12-1, trying to go to their 4th consecutive championship game in 1AA football. Donnan, Parker, and Gross. Chris Gross, 230 pounds, known as Bump. The skill guys, Goodwin Martin, tight end, an excellent blocker. And Jim Lanzo gets the start at center. We'll talk a little bit about that. Parker's got about 5 to the 35-yard line, and it should be enough for a first down. It is, brought down by Travis Thompson. For Boise State, they play an even front. Weston, Sion Fafita is a freshman. Thompson and Joe O'Brien, maybe the best defensive player in the Big Sky Conference. We'll show you the linebackers in the secondary after this snap. So Marshall with a first down at the 35-yard line. Now they go to the shotgun and a slot to the near side. Tim Martin is a wide and a high snap. And Donnan is in trouble at the 5-yard line, finds Martin. And Martin will lose 10. A great play by the quarterback, Donnan, to find somebody, but that was the great concern of Jim Donnan because he's playing an inexperienced center in Jim Lanzo. J.D. Cyrus is out of there, the senior captain.
65, Jim Lanzo's a center and just snaps it right over his head. Now, a center in the shotgun formation has to be able to snap that ball without looking back at the quarterback, and that one just goes right over the head, and that's right. Cyrus, the all-conference center, number 55, suspended for this game. Conduct detrimental to the club, breaking unspecified team rules, and you're right, Jim Donnan very concerned about the play of his center.
And now Boise State, they're a gambling defense. They are showing blitz here on 2nd down and 20. 3-step drop, slant pattern complete to the 40-yard line. It is number 7, Sean Goodwin, the senior from Sussex, Virginia. Rashid Gale brought him down, but a good pickup, and now it's a much more manageable 3rd down. It'll be about 3rd down and 6 for Donnan and the Herd.
That last play, Boise State, the Broncos playing off, but they are a team that plays a lot of man-to-man coverage, and Rashid Gale, who made that tackle, one of the best cover men in all of 1AA.
Now Donnan changing the play at the line of scrimmage. They go toss sweep. Here's Parker. And Parker lowers his shoulder and will have the 1st down. Rashid Gale brought him down along with Keith Walkgreen, but Parker got 6 and he needed about 5.5. So moved the chains. Impressive that Marshall able to overcome that 10-yard loss on 1st down. It actually could have been a lot worse than that.
You're exactly right, and the thing about Marshall is they're just business as usual. You know, they're just going to not get flustered at all with anything that goes wrong, mistakes that they make or breaks that go against them, and right there you see that where they pick up the 1st down.
Again, it's Parker, picks a hole and drives across midfield to the 48-yard line, and that is a typical Chris Parker run.
You know, he's not that big a guy. He's 5'11". He's listed at 189 pounds. Now, with all the pads on, I think he looks a little bit bigger than that, but a first-team All-Southern Conference player. As a matter of fact, he was a Southern Conference Player of the Year in '93, so just a year ago, and he is a guy that will run people over.
He got 5, 2nd down and 5. Goodwin comes to the near side and Jermaine Wiggins in the slot. They go on a draw. Big opening for Parker. And he tumbles to the 32-yard line, brought down by Walkgreen. Jim Donnan told us yesterday he wanted to see just how good this Boise State defense was. He said, we're going to be physical early and run it right at him.
And that's what they're doing. And Boise State is just sitting back in a base defense. They're not blitzing. But look at the double team that they get on the nose guard, and that opens up the huge hole. And then once Parker's into the secondary, he's not going to be brought down easily.
Parker gets a breather. Eric Thomas, the sophomore from Largo, Maryland, comes in, and they go to the fullback.
Bump.
And Bump. What a great name.
Getting the carry.
He gets one every millennium. Chris Gross, the senior from Beckley, West Virginia, had 225 yards rushing this year, but pretty good gaudy average, 7 yards a pop.
And they call him Bump because of his hard-nosed play. He likes to bump into people, and his idol is the Moose from Dallas, Daryl Johnston.
Every fullback in the country now wants to be the Moose. Donnan on a delay. This is Thomas. He's got room. Thomas inside the 15 to the 13-yard line. Marshall, an impressive drive thus far. DeJuan Miller bounced Thomas out there, but a good pickup. It'll be 1st and 10 inside the 15.
And you're going to see a nice block from the bump. Chris Gross is going to get the linebacker. That's Stephen Reed, and he just roots him out of there, and that's the big hole for Thomas as he gets to the outside, uses some speed.
Marshall, very balanced offensive attack this year, averaged over 200 yards rushing.
Not on this drive, though.
Yeah, over 240 in the air, but this has been all on the ground pretty much. Parker, as a flag comes in, and he is dropped at the 11-yard line by the middle backer, Brian Smith.
That's going to be illegal motion on 47. I think that Chris Gross actually simulated the start of a snap, the fullback.
Let's finish out the defense for you for Boise State. The linebackers are Vince Watson, Brian Smith, and Stephon Reed. Good crew. The secondary, the safeties Keith Walkering and Chris Cook. On the corners, DeJuan Miller and Rasheed Gale.
I think we might be able to catch the fullback Gross. See right there? And he's allowed to go in motion. However, he cannot start or simulate the start of a play, and that's why they flag him.
So it'll be first down and 15. There's a good look at Gross, sports medicine major.
He's the backup to Glenn Pedro, their outstanding fullback the last few years for Marshall. Had to bide his time, sit on the bench and wait, and finally as a senior, he's getting to play.
Donnan swings it out to Parker. Parker upended by Smith. Great play by the junior from Tacoma.
Boy, he's just really burst on the scene. Brian Smith, he's got 9 sacks on the year from his middle linebacker position. And what you're going to see is the tight end, 89, Jermaine Wiggins, misses the block. He's out there, and he just does not get a hat on number 8. Brian Smith comes in and makes the emphatic tackle.
A loss of 4. It's now second down and 19.
Tom Mason, defensive coordinator for Boise, told us, Drew, that he thought Brian Smith was the best linebacker, not only in the conference, but in the nation the last few weeks.
Donnan under pressure. Fade route to Martin. Touchdown, Marshall. Great throw, wonderful catch. Todd Donnan laid it up there, and Tim Martin beat Jason Payne, the nickel corner.
Hey, they told us that Todd Donnan had trouble throwing the deep ball. They said that was not his strength, but right there, boy, he just puts a great touch on this football. He gets good protection, gets to set his feet, and then look at all the air he puts underneath it. Way up there, right over the head, and that's a tough catch by Martin, who also is playing with a cast on his thumb from some torn ligaments earlier in the season. It's a heck of a catch.
This is Tim Openlander. He's been busy kicking PATs this year, his 69th of the year. 7-0 Marshall on the 10th touchdown reception of the year for Tim Martin.
This time Martin gets him. Not bad coverage, great throw, great catch.
And this will be Willie Bowens from the 2, trying to get to the wall. And Bowens will get it out to the 24-yard line. He was dropped by Larry McLeod for Marshall. Quarterback is Tony Hildy for the Boise State Broncos. He's a sophomore, and he's a little more mobile than Todd Donnan. In fact, you will see him run some option throughout the afternoon. He has a howitzer of an arm, though he does have a bit of a shoulder injury.
This is a guy that was recruited by Oregon as a thrower and Oregon State as a runner. So that's the type of skills that he has.
Quite a baseball player, drafted by the San Francisco Giants out of high school. Double tight ends. Here's a little bootleg. Hildy breaks containment and now wants to run it. He's going to be dropped in the backfield. A 4-yard loss. Jermaine Swafford and Albert Barber got there. So Marshall was not at all fooled on first down. Here's the offensive unit for Boise State. Hildy, and the halfback is Casey Adams, over 1,000 yards rushing. Howsky and Akibi, 2 very fine ends, and Bernie Zimmerman more of a blocker. Randy Matashak, we'll see plenty of him at tight end. Good offensive line. Kaufman's been dinged. He's back in there. Toyas is an all-conference player at guard. 2nd and 14. Little swing and over the head of Casey Adams, but it was defended pretty well. Here's the defense for Marshall. They also play a 4-3. And the linebackers, Parker, Barber, and Swafford. And the secondary led by the 2 safeties, the 2 best safeties in 1AA college football, Morrison and Johnson. Johnson at free is a 2-time All-American. He'll be a 3-time All-American when that list comes out.
Both very aggressive players, and that's what Boise wants to do, is play action them a lot.
3rd and 14, here comes a blitz, and Hildy gets away, has a man open, and a great defensive play by number 27, Shannon Morrison, just getting a piece of that football because all alone was Ryan Akibi. And even though it was not successful, you saw the athleticism of the quarterback Hildy there.
He was terrific, just escaping the blitz by Jerome Embry coming right up the middle, and then he puts a nice touch on the ball, but the athleticism of Shannon Morrison, the safety on the other side, is able to stop that play.
Danny Weeks will punt. Tim Martin is back at his own 43-yard line. It's a low punt, returnable job from the 48. Martin, and very good coverage by Boise State. Now a late flag comes in. Chris Wing got down to cover the punt. We'll wait and see as they sort things out. Our referee today, Bill Etzler. And so they'll walk off some yardage now against Marshall, but they'll still have outstanding field position. 7-0. Marshall took the opening kickoff, drove it down the field 75 yards, and you just saw they turned away Boise State.
And as a surprise, I guess, that Boise in that first drive on defense did not blitz at all. And I think in the second drive they need to blitz a little bit.
7-0. We'll be back to Bronco Stadium in Boise in a moment. The mountains off in the distance. We're at Bronco Stadium in Boise, Idaho. Along with Jim Ryan, I'm Drew Goodman. Certainly glad you're along today on Prime Network. 7-0. Marshall leading Boise State. Semifinal game number 2 of the 1AA playoffs. And Parker goes straight ahead and was met in the hole by Travis Thompson, the junior from Glendale, Arizona, who's playing his best football of the year in the playoffs.
He's really come on in the last 5 or 6 weeks. Also a good student, 3.23. I always like to mention that when they're good students.
So do I, Jim. You were a very good student at William and Mary, a 1AA school.
That did not make the playoffs this year, unfortunately.
Trips to the top. Donnan down the middle, complete to the 38-yard line. Theron Todd hauled it in there. Dewan Miller had the coverage.
Both of these teams are extremely multiple, and that's going to be the problem facing that man. That's Tom Mason. He's the defensive coordinator for Boise, and he told us yesterday he thought he would blitz a lot as he did against Montana. He got Dave Dickinson, the best quarterback in 1AA, sacked 11 times, got him on the turf 28 times. Thought he'd be blitzing a lot here. Hasn't shown it yet.
Parker again with the football, dropped in the backfield. Good play by Joe O'Brien. First chance to call his name. The senior from Pittsburgh, California. The Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year.
He's a blue-collar player. He's not a guy that has all the skill in the world, but he's relentless and never quits. 100% on every single play.
He had 10.5 sacks this year. No gain on that play. It'll be 2nd down and 10. 2 receivers to the top, 1 to the near side, and Sean Goodwin. And Goodwin gets the football and ducks inside the 30. He'll probably be about half a yard shy of the 1st down in front of Dewan Miller, who is an interesting and marvelous story. Number 16 defensively for Boise State. He's a junior from Battleground, Washington, folks. He was born without a left arm from the elbow down, and he's been a 3-year starter here. And we'll show you his picture in a moment. There he is, number 16. He plays without that. He had an interception last week. He's marvelous. They said if he did not have that handicap, he'd be playing major college football and would be a starter at that level. Short yardage play, 1st down for Parker as Keith Walk-Green upended him, but not until he got the necessary yardage for a 1st down, and they'll move the chains again, and here comes Marshall.
Marshall has had terrific offensive teams through this championship run as they played in the championship game the last 3 years. But Jim Donnan told us that this is by far his best offensive team, scoring over 41 points a game. They're very prolific, and they are just marching down the field with short, controlled passes and a good running attack.
Parker, the lone setback. He's got the football, and he's dropped in the backfield as Boise State reacted well that time. Leading the charge, Brian Smith and Travis Thompson. They've actually, Jim, done a pretty good job, Boise State, stopping Marshall on 1st down. The problems have come on second and third.
Well, Marshall will change things up. Both of these teams are very multiple, a lot of different formations, not that many different plays, but they just try to fool you by giving those same plays out of different looks.
They go to Parker again, and he slips down on the blue turf after maybe a yard or two of gain, so it'll be 3rd down and 8. The turf is slippery. It snowed a couple of days ago, but they put heat blankets down in covering it the last couple of days. And
yeah, and please do not adjust your color on your TV set, because it is a blue turf.
And you can see plenty of snow that has been shoveled not only off the field but out of the seats in the stands. Crowd better than 20,000 expected today. 3rd down and 8. They need the 17-yard line for a first. Donnan out of the shotgun all day and nearly intercepted underneath. Keith Walk-Green stepped in the hole and really should have had it.
He really should, right through his hands, and Todd Donnan throws that pass a little bit ill-advised. They're playing just a zone coverage here, and he tries to get the receiver coming all the way across from the right side. It's the slot man to the left side, and he throws it right through the hands of number 4, Keith Walk-Green, who has 3 interceptions on the year, but is not able to hold on to that one.
So the field goal unit comes on. Tim Openlander will come into the game, the sophomore from Tampa. This is where Boise State has an advantage. This distance. And the moment you say that, he kicks one into the crowd. So from 42, he's right on. And the Thundering Herd doing all of the roaring early. They lead 10-0 over Boise State. Marshall leads here 10-0. And this is in the direction of Willie Bowens from the 1. Bowens with a gap. And Bowens crosses midfield. Great return for Boise State. We sat in a special teams meeting yesterday, and Pokey Allen, the head coach, said, guys, if you hold your blocks, we can bust one.
He said they were going to get 2 touchdowns on special teams, and that might be a little aggressive. But here you see Willie Bowens, number 21, averages 25 yards a return. His only return in the playoffs, he went for 38. And right here, he doesn't even get touched until he's well into Marshall territory. So a nice return, good blocking on the left side from Boise State special teams.
And there is Bowens. You'll see him line up at tailback. He was the featured tailback a year ago, and then Casey Adams came on campus. And Adams is a tailback right now. Great field position for Boise State from the +45. Bootleg, and again, Hildy running for his life, tried to get it to his fullback, Del Graven. Morrison had the coverage.
This is exactly what Marshall wanted to do to Hildy, and that is he likes to break, contain on the pocket, get outside, buy some time for himself, use his athleticism to then throw the ball or run the ball. And what Marshall wants to do is contain him and not let him get outside. And you see, as soon as he snaps the ball, starts to go outside, he's contained, has nowhere to go. So Marshall executing defensively.
4:08 to go in the first quarter. 2nd and 10 from the 45. Adams, the lone back. 2 receivers to the top, 1 to the near side. Hildy again under pressure, hit from behind, and now trying to run for his life, and somehow stays on his feet. Hildy's got a first down and more inside the 30 to the 28. How about that? That was an equal opportunity run. Everyone on the defense had an equal opportunity to bring him down, and nobody could.
Missed. That shows you just the type of quarterback this kid is. And like we say, only a sophomore. And when the coaches describe him, they say tough. They say he is a tough kid. He breaks 1 tackle there, another tackle there. He can't get a hold of him. And then Jermaine Swafford can't get a hold of him. He cuts back, and then you see he doesn't have great speed in the open field. But when you need a first down, when you need a big play, Hildy's going to get it for you.
Got Vaseline on his jersey. The 28, Casey Adams. Ooh, met immediately for no gain. 44, Albert Barber, 225-pound sophomore, stepped up.
Albert Barber for Marshall University.
Sophomore from Morrow, Georgia. This is a typical Marshall football game. 10 points in the first quarter, Jim. They don't let anybody play in the first quarter.
Well, Marshall has only given up 7 points in the first quarter all year. They've outscored their opponents 175-7 in the first quarter. The one touchdown they gave up was the first game of the year against Morehead State. They haven't given up a score since then.
And oh, by the way, they went on to pound Morehead State 71-7. So they were a little angered by that. Hildy, a naked boot, twists out of that. This guy's a magician. But he's going to lose 2 or 3 yards. He could only run so much.
And B.J. Cohen is saying, well, I did my job the first time. He kind of stopped Hildy from getting to the corner. Watch from the top of your screen. B.J. Cohen, number 5. He's got 12 sacks on the year. Right there, he's going outside. He's not letting Hildy get to the corner, but then he goes to make the sack, and Hildy gets to the corner. So he's got to keep the contain. He did it the first time. He's just got to maintain that contain on the elusive Tony Hildy.
And don't be deceived. B.J. Cohen, number 5, that was not a blitz. He's a defensive end, and he's a pass rush specialist.
First team All-Southern Conference, and the guy does not start. He plays in the nickel in the pass rush situations.
And a dozen sacks, and hurt is Keith Jeffrey, the 330-pound junior tackle. So Aaron Paquette comes in at left tackle. 3rd down and 13. They need the 18-yard line. Howski in motion. More time this time. And this will be intercepted downfield. It's the free safety, Roger Johnson, the 2-time All-American, read it and broke on the football, and we have a late flag.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a post-possession penalty. But I don't know if that ball was tipped. If it wasn't, it was a very poorly thrown ball.
Personal foul against Boise State. So Boise State had great field position, could not capitalize.
Hildy's going to roll, a little half roll to his right, and then he wants to come back to the left to Jared Howski. And look, that ball just slips out of his hands. I don't know if the ball is wet. The weather conditions aren't chilly, but you would think the ball would be in good condition. Although I will say this, there's a lot of teams that are complaining about using the Rawlings ball. There was teams complaining that they've used Wilson balls all through the year, but in the championship games, they're changing to a Wilson ball, and the kickers and quarterbacks are having a little trouble adjusting.
So it's Johnson, the senior from Lynchburg, Virginia, who will get a good long look at an NFL camp next year. 10-0, Thundering Herd. They have the ball at their own 38. Parker takes the football, crosses the 40 and hammers to the 44. Cook, along with Walk Green, stepped up from their safety positions.
Now the Broncos have to step up and do something here. Only 1 minute and 55, clock running, first quarter. Down 10-0, and your opponent has the football. Somebody for Boise has to come up with the big play that Marshall just came up with on defense.
Marshall's been able to run the ball decently against Boise State. Boise State was a very good rush defensive team this year, 7th in 1AA football, just 3 yards a carry.
Yeah, but they play in the Big Sky. No one runs it there.
They usually throw, and isn't that a surprise as you see Parker very close to a first down, and in fact it is a first down. Isn't that a surprise? Because look at the weather outside. I mean, they play in inclement weather, yet they throw the football a lot. You would think that they would be more run-oriented.
It is funny. The Big Sky Conference is a pass-oriented conference, and that's where Boise State comes from. As a matter of fact, all 8 teams in the Big Sky were among the top 32 in the nation in passing. Boy, they put it up. There's more footballs in the air than there are snowflakes up here.
Complete. Good catch. That's Goodwin. No, check that. It's 1, not 7. It's Martin sliding down and making the reception. He had 59 catches during the regular part of the year, but missed some because of surgery on his thumb, and you see the cast there. Jim Ryan alluded to it earlier. Martin will go out of the game.
I really like Marshall's game plan and what they've been able to do. They're not really doing a lot in the passing game. They're controlled passes that are easy to complete and then running the football. That's Marshall football.
Double tight end. Gross goes in motion. Parker straight ahead, and he tripped before he got to the line of scrimmage. So it'll be a loss of 1, and it'll be 3rd down and about 5 for Marshall at the 46-yard line of Boise State as the first quarter winds down. Pokey Allen wore shorts to every practice this year. And he did that because one of his defensive linemen...
No, his offensive, Keith Jeffrey, was complaining about being cold one day at practice, and Pokey said, well, then I'll just wear shorts every day because I don't want you whining. And he's going to win that bet because yesterday he was out here in shorts.
And that is the end of the first quarter. So Marshall will be faced with a 3rd down and 5 when we return. They've dominated the first chapter. They lead it 10-0 on the road in Boise. The Thundering Herd leading 10-0 over Boise State as we start the second quarter. Semifinal game number 2 of the 1AA football playoffs. Youngstown State is already in the championship game for their 4th consecutive year, an official timeout, and Marshall trying to go for the 4th consecutive year. They're 1-2 against Youngstown State the last couple of years. Earlier today it was Youngstown 28-9, the Penguins over the Montana Grizzlies.
And that championship game for the 3rd year in a row will be held in Huntington, West Virginia. So if Marshall's able to continue to lead and win this football game, then they will go back home to play the championship game.
And Jim Tonnen's club, Jim Ryan, in the first quarter had the football for 11 minutes and 39 seconds. They wanted to run it right at Boise State, and they were successful doing that and mixed in some completions from Todd Donnan. They need 5 here. They go on a delay to Parker. Parker's got plenty of room. 1st down and more. If he kept his feet, he'd still be running. Dropped at the 33 by Keith Walkerine, the junior free safety.
Chris Parker has to really thank his offensive lineman for the production he's getting. You're going to see the middle linebacker, Brian Smith, right there, number 8. He meets the fullback right in the hole, but he has no clue where the football is. He's looking all around. Well, the football's downfield in the hands of Chris Parker, and you're right. If he doesn't get that shoestring tackle, he's gone. But look at the big hole. As the offensive tackle just turns one player out, the fullback turns the middle linebacker in. That's what you call a gap.
Now they go toss sweep. Parker again, fall forward for a couple of yards. He always seems to do that. He doesn't wow you in the open field, but he now has 15 carries and 68 yards. And it's one of those guys, Jim, you played against a ton of those in the NFL. The end of the ball game, they had 120,
yeah,
130.
You know who he reminds me of, really, is Bobby Humphrey, who had a couple terrific years with the Denver Broncos. And he's a guy that didn't wow you with speed and cutbacks and all that and moves, but he was always falling forward. That extra 2 or 3 yards that you get after contact is hidden yardage.
Donnan sprints right. They flood the zone and knocked away at the last moment. It was DeJuan Miller,
who looked like he was coming off the sideline, didn't he?
He did look like it, but we know that DeJuan is a starter, and we know that he was in at the beginning of that snap, but he might have been out of bounds and came back in. Perfectly legal for a defensive player to get knocked out of bounds and knock it down.
And there's Jim Donnan. He says, in past years, he's always had one side of the ball more dominant than the other, the offense or the defense. This year, he's very good on both sides of the football. Their offense, number 3 in the nation in scoring points. Their defense, number 7 in the nation in points given up.
Just underway, second quarter, 3rd down and 7 for Marshall. They need the 22-yard line. Donnan's got a 1st down of Martin to the 21-yard line on the crossing route. Jason Payne again, the victim.
There's Tim Martin, another good baseball player in his own right. Played a little center field for the Marshall baseball team, hit 295. But here in football, he says he loves to play football. He won't give it up to play baseball. It's just a crossing route. And he's just going to get in front of Jason Payne once again. It looked like Payne got picked off just a little bit in the man-to-man coverage. And Tim Martin's going to get the 1st down.
Sion Fafita, number 98, was the guy you saw limping off the field, the 290-pound sophomore from Corvallis. He's replaced by Chris Shepard. 1st and 10, ball at the 21-yard line. Boise State needs a stop here. They can put up a lot of points, but you can't get too far behind against Marshall. The delay to Parker. And he'll get about 1 or 2. Fafita came right back in there, made the play, and also Joe O'Brien, number 14. Again, another strange number for a defensive lineman.
Right. Well, you know, Joe O'Brien wears number 14 because the quarterback for Boise State, Joe Aliotti, I think is how you pronounce it, was his coach in high school. And Aliotti wore number 14, so Joe O'Brien changed his number from number 80 to number 14 in honor of his old coach.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
2nd and 8, again, Donnan checking off. And he checks to Parker, and that one was read well. A swarm of blue defenders for the Broncos. Thompson was there, the defensive tackle. We've called his number a lot, and also Matt Weston, Vince Watson, outside linebacker. So it's again one of those 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 situations. Actually, the loss of one will be 3rd and 9. But Marshall has pushed the right button every time on 3rd down.
They've got great execution on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think a 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9 really scares them. I'd look for another quick slant that's been very successful so far for the Thundering Herd.
Martin's in the slot. He ran a drag route. Donnan is in trouble. Now gets it away to Martin, and he's very close to a 1st down. I think he has it. What a play by Todd Donnan, just as it looked like he was going to be sacked, and I think he was looking to tuck it up at that point. He finds Martin.
Well, Todd Donnan is not a guy that's a great runner. He's not fleet of foot, but what he can do is slip the rush, as you see he does right here, and just slipping underneath and then makes the play to Martin as he's falling down. And Martin, look at that, gets the 1st down, or maybe they're going to measure, gets that tough yardage after he makes the catch. Todd Donnan in the semifinals a year ago, Drew, which we had right here for you on Prime Sports Network that I did. Todd Donnan made a couple of very big plays against Troy State, running the football, ran on a couple of key 3rd down situations to get 1st downs. He's not really known for that, but again, he's the type of guy that when you need something to happen, Todd Donnan is just a guy that's going to be a leader and get it done for you.
So again, Marshall converts on 3rd down. They can get a 1st down inside the 2. Gross with the football, he'll lose a couple. Stepping up right away, that man, Travis Thompson, number 99, the 270-pound junior. A loss of 2. Bump was really bumped there.
Well, he said he likes contact, and be careful what you wish for, because sometimes it comes true.
With Jim Ryan, I'm Drew Goodman. 11:34 to go, 2nd quarter, 10-0. Marshall leading Boise State in semifinal game number 2 of the 1AA playoffs. Donnan sets up a screen the other way. And now finds it complete to Gross inside the 5 and dropped at the 3-yard line. Todd Donnan making like Tony Hildy there.
Wow. And this has got to be a bit discouraging to the Boise State defense, because they're playing pretty good defense sometimes at the point of attack, and they stop one thing, but then Donnan's making an athletic play to beat them with something else. They're going to fake the draw right here, and then he wants Chris Parker on the screen, but he's held up, and that's Travis Thompson who grabs Parker. He holds him up, so Donnan looks, there's no screen there. Hey, I'll just make something else happen, and Gross just slipped away from all the other defenders and gets the 1st down.
Well, he's about 2 yards short. It'll be 3rd down and 2. They go out of the I formation. Parker up in the air will be very close.
Chris Parker carries.
And he's going to be a little bit short where they mark him, so it sets up a 4th down. And here's an interesting decision for Jim Donnan. We've gotten to know him the last few years. I got to believe he's probably going to pound it out of him again.
Yeah, he's definitely going to go for it. Actually, he's going to call a timeout first.
Jim Donnan mentioned in some circles as perhaps a candidate for the University of Oklahoma job. He has ties there. Right now, his club leading 10-0 in Boise. Authority of the NCAA. Any use of this program without written consent is prohibited. The announcers for this program have been approved and contracted by NCAA Productions. Drew Goodman, Jim Ryan, Boise State, and Marshall. 4th down for Marshall. They are 16 of 22 this year in converting 4th downs, which is nearly amazing. They need about 2 feet. They go to Parker on the toss sweep. He'll get the first down and the touchdown.
Touchdown, Marshall.
So Jim Donnan gambles, but it pays dividends. 16-0, pending the extra point.
A little easier to gamble when you're up 10-0 already. And here you see the low-angle shot of Chris Parker coming right into your living room right there as he avoids the would-be tacklers from Boise State. Again, good blocking. Nobody from the inside can get out and cut Parker off to turn him inside to where more blue jerseys exist.
So Openlander comes on and bangs the extra point over your head. 17-0. Marshall trying to head to their 4th consecutive championship game in 1AA football. According to several polls in the preseason, Marshall was the top team in the country in 1AA football. Right now, they're showing it. 17-0 over Boise State, and that man is having a big first half.
Some concern from Jim Donnan that he might be leaving early this year to go into the pros. A lot of people think that Chris Parker will make a terrific pro player, but we shall see.
Boise State really needs to respond, obviously down 17-0. 2 different personalities among the coaches. Pokey Allen for Boise State and Jim Donnan. We'll tell you more about that in a moment. This is Bowens, this time from the 5-yard line, had a big return last time he handled it, and again he's got open field. Bowen tackled from behind at the 48 of Marshall. So Willie Bowens again gets it to the flip side of the 50 for BSU.
Great execution by the Broncos in their kickoff returns. He just bides his time. Bowens did a great job just waiting for his blockers to set up and then broke free when he saw a lot of blue turf in front of him.
He said yesterday during that special teams meeting, we can get a middle left return. And that's what they've done twice today. The only problem is they haven't put any points on the board yet. Hildy gives on a delay, and Graven bounces off of a few people and actually got 4 yards. Albert Barber finally dropped. I was talking about Pokey Allen and Jim Donnan. Jim Donnan, conservative, close to the vest type of coach. Pokey Allen is bombastic in his personality, and the teams have taken on their respective coaches' personalities.
We were at both practices yesterday, and it was like night and day. Boise just real loose, having fun, and Marshall very businesslike in their attitude.
2nd down and 6, nobody home in the backfield. Marshall shows blitz, and they come with it. Pop pass complete, and it should be very close to a first down to Bernie Zimmerman.
Now that's a play that Alan Borges, the offensive coordinator for Boise, told us that he was going to use. Marshall has not seen the vacant backfield before, so they're a little confused who's going to cover the tight end right now. With the blitz, he gets the hot receiver and gets the first down.
Ball at the 38-yard line. Pokey Allen, he was in the USFL, defensive coordinator with the LA Express for a time.
2 coaches also have something else in common we'll talk about a little bit later.
It's actually pretty wild. Hildy, flags come in, has time, and he has Howski, Jared Howski at the 31-yard line. The senior from Marysville, Washington, but this might all come back.
Howski's got great hands, runs great routes, not a lot of speed. I think they're calling an illegal formation on Boise. Not enough men on the line of scrimmage.
So that'll wipe out that gain. It'll cost them 5 yards. Bill Etzler, our referee today. It's going to cost him more than 5. It's going to cost him 15. There was 12 men on the field. So now it's 1st and 25, and they're all the way back to their own 47-yard line. Boise State trailing 17-0 to Marshall.
I thought we counted 3 receivers up top, 2 on the bottom, and a back. That's too many. Too many skilled people in there.
Well, the play worked.
Maybe that's why.
Double tight end now. Hildy. He's got 4 receivers running down the field, and the hometown crowd wanted interference on Ryan Akibi, but I don't think it was there. Incidental contact, and the ball just over the head of Akibi, the sophomore.
Another new play, especially for Marshall. This is called 4 vertical. You see 38, Del Graven going to the middle of the field trying to take the safety with him, and then he's going to try to get Akibi down into the seam between the zone. It's a good pattern when a team runs a 3-deep zone on defense. You draw the safety to the middle, and there you see Jason Grayson, the cornerback, and then just try to hit another receiver in the zone. Doesn't work this time.
Motion from Howski on 2nd and 25. And that pass in and out of the hands of Casey Adams. Defender Embry, Jerome Embry, might have arrived a little bit early. Now it's 3rd and 25. Boise State last year, when they were 3-8, averaged just 19 points a game. This year they're around 32, so that's 2 more touchdowns a game. And defensively, they gave up 29 points. This year they give up just about 18.5. So you can see why they're 12-1 as compared to just 3-8 a year ago. And they went the junior college route. 16 new faces from junior colleges playing for Boise State. They need a bunch here. Akibi, complete. Hildy to Akibi. Jason Grayson tackled him. He's going to be short by about 7-8 yards at the 36-yard line. What do, Coach?
Well, I think that at this point you're down 17-0. Why not go for it? You're a team that knows how to throw the football. You're in enemy territory already at the 36-yard line, and I think that Boise has to come up with something to get a spark in their offense and in this team. So on 4th and about 8, go for it.
4 of 10 this year, Boise State, when they go on 4th down, and Tony Hildy took a look at the defense during his pre-snap read, and he'll go visit with Al Borges, his offensive coordinator. 17-0. Boise State trying to get on the board with 7:31 to go in the 2nd. With his quarterback, Tony Hildy, they have 4th down and 8. They need the 28-yard line. Boise State trailing 17-0 to Marshall. Marshall comes with a blitz. And 1st down to Matashak. Randy Matashak, the junior tight end. He was the hot receiver, and they'll move the chains for Boise State, and finally something to cheer about for more than 20,000 here at Bronco Stadium.
Well, this is the 2nd time that Boise State's been able to burn Marshall on the blitz. They get the linebackers up the middle, and they just get the hot receiver to the tight end. First of the time it was Zimmerman, this time it's Matashak.
Howski goes in motion, and now resets on the far side. Casey Adams, and he is tackled right at the line of scrimmage. He hasn't handled the football much. Jermaine Swafford stepped up, and that play almost looks like it takes too long to develop against a Herd defense that runs well.
What they did on that particular play is they went an unbalanced line. They really only had 2 players, the guard and the tackle, on the left side of the center, and tried to overload on the right side to get more blockers at the point of attack there. Give it to Casey Adams, but no going. Marshall defended it well.
2nd down and 9. Slot to the near side. And now Akibi in motion. Hildy ducks out of there, and now we'll find some room on the other side. Hildy, and a late flag comes in. Hildy to the 23-yard line, and they're going to ticket Marshall.
And Billy Lyon, the defensive tackle for Marshall, misses Hildy for the 2nd time of the day. He's got to be wondering what's going wrong. Personal foul. I think there's a little late hit. It might have been on B.J. Cohen. They got about 3 or 4 different packages from this little quick screen look. And there you see Billy Lyon missing Hildy. He's still looking, and then missed again by Duncan. And then he's going to get some yardage here, and then looks like he fumbles the ball. And I think, see, B.J. Cohen came in head first with his helmet first on the back of the quarterback, Hildy. That's what the flag's for.
So it's 1st and 10 at the 11-yard line. Split backs. They're going to run the option out of this. Adams will take it himself. Touchdown, Boise State. They came out in a full house backfield, and Adams took the handoff, and he had a pitch man in Bowens, but he saw a big opening.
Funny play, but you see Casey Adams right there. He ran a lot of option as a quarterback in high school, and look right here. He's at the option to pitch it or just turn it up, and why not turn it up when you have blocking like that, just about untouched into the end zone.
And now Erickson on for the extra point. And Boise State breaks the drought with 5:58 to go in the second quarter. It is now 17-7, Marshall, and it was imperative there, Jim, that Boise State got 6.
See number 21, that's Bowen. Now he's trying to stay in relation to Adams, and it's just like a quarterback option, only this time they're doing it with Adams, the tailback. And you see a lot of the defenders were going out to where Bowen was, expecting maybe that he was going to pitch. He drew a lot of defense out there and opened up the gap inside for Casey Adams to walk through.
You know, Al Borges, the offensive coordinator for Boise State, he said, I'm like a mad scientist when it comes to offense.
He really is. He patterns his offense after the 49ers, but he also loves trick plays. They've scored on the hook and ladder this year. They've scored on the flea flicker this year. And he's got a couple other things up his sleeve that he told us about. He hasn't run them yet, and we'll see if he tries some of those other trick plays during the course of the afternoon.
One thing Pokey Allen told us about his club, he said, I don't know if we belong on the same field with Marshall, but I guarantee you one thing, no matter what the score is, you look at Al Borges, no matter what the score, we will not quit. So this team has great character. They still trail by 10. Tim Martin back deep. Greg Erickson kicks it in his direction. Martin from the 10. He's got great wheels. Martin threw a gap to the 35-yard line. Ball came out late. It'll be Marshall football. Keith Walk-Green, the starting free safety, made the tackle on special teams.
Now we'll see if Tom Mason, defensive coordinator for Boise, changes up anything defensively to try to slow down this Marshall offensive attack.
Parker swings it wide and falls ahead to the 40, maybe the 41-yard line. Didn't look like much.
Yeah.
It was 5 yards.
And Marshall will do that to you. Just a little counter tray type of play. And once Parker gets into the defender after contact, he's falling forward. And like you say, a pretty nondescript running play, but now it's 2nd and 5.
They have 4 new starters in that offensive line, but it's very talented. Jamie Wilson, Aaron Ferguson, Jim Lanzo, Dan Boslett, William Pinnell, and Danny White at tight end is like an extra tackle. Stopped in the backfield as Parker that time by Travis Thompson. I don't know if he's been blocked yet.
Well, when you run the counter tray, you have to block the backside where the guard and tackle are pulling from, or you're going to be in deep trouble. And that time, Thompson just followed the pulling guard down the line of scrimmage, came in behind him, made the play.
That was a loss of 3, so it'll be 3rd down and a long 7. Thompson trying to get the crowd going here. Slot to both sides. The lone setback is Parker. Boise State backs out of the blitz, complete on the slant across midfield is Sean Goodwin. And he was wide open in that zone.
And Marshall's not doing anything that they haven't not done during the course of the year. They love the slant pattern. And they're just going to run it to death until Boise is able to stop it. Donnan throws the ball very well. It's just kind of a short to an intermediate pattern. He can deliver that right on target. And you have guys like Sean Goodwin who run precise routes, and you're going to see completions like that.
Here's a reverse coming. Martin's got the football. And now he options to the quarterback, Donnan. Inside the 20 to the 18. How about that for creativity?
Parker on the reverse.
We saw Al Borges do it on the goal line for the touchdown. And Jim Donnan comes right back and says, hey, we know some gadget plays of our own.
The offensive coordinator for Marshall, Chris Selfo, saying, I got some tricks too. Watch this. Martin's going to run the reverse, and then he's going to keep. Todd Donnan does a great job of just staying in relation to Martin. And then when number 20, Rasheed Gale, comes up to tackle Martin, there's Donnan, who's not going to beat anybody to the goal line, but he got an extra about 8 yards out of that.
Parker with a hop into the hole, and Joe O'Brien stopped him after a yard or two. This game is really amazing because Marshall on 1st and 2nd down is thudded for a couple, maybe lost a couple, and then they're always faced with a 3rd down and 8, it seems like, and they always convert. They're 6 of 8 on 3rd down conversions in this ball game. Inside 3.5 minutes to go and a rapidly moving first half. Trips to the top, 3 receivers. Gross is the ace back. And Gross takes the handoff, and he'll get it to about the 15-yard line. That is all. He was met by Travis Thompson, also Chris Shepard in there. So bump knocked off his feet onto his keister, and it is 3rd down and 7.
And Travis Thompson, as we've mentioned a couple times, having a big day. And once again, should mention that playing center for Marshall, Jim Lanzo in place of J.D. Cyrus, and Jim Donnan said that was a big concern.
Third down and 7, they need the 8-yard line. He looks towards Goodwin and now brings it back down and throws a touchdown. It's Sean Goodwin who adjusted his route and got free.
Donnan's pass caught in the end zone.
Boy, Todd Donnan has such presence of mind. He's got great patience in the pocket. And you'll see right here, actually he wants his tight end, Danny White, right down the middle, right there, but he's covered. 8 on 8. That's Brian Smith covering White. And then Donnan's able to hit Sean Goodwin, who had also kind of come to the middle. And you're right, Drew, he adjusted his pattern, went back outside, and the Boise State Broncos unable to cover it. 6 points.
So Tim Openlander makes it 24-7. Marshall by 17 with 2:31 to go before halftime. Goodwin, seldom used a year ago. He was a defensive back when he came to the Marshall program. That was his 10th touchdown catch of the year.
We'll see this from low angle right here. See, Todd Donnan right there wants his tight end. He says, oh, he's covered. But he's got great protection there. And the offensive line does a wonderful job of keeping the alley open so that Donnan can look downfield. And when you can look downfield, you can find guys like Sean Goodwin.
Todd Donnan's impressive.
He really is. He's just got a knack for playing this football game. As we mentioned a couple times, not great skills, but just a knack for playing the game. He's 3rd in career passing now in the Southern Conference. And the one thing that his father said was really impressive. He says, you know, a coach's kid can take a lot of heat from his teammates. But what really impressed him was that this year, Todd Donnan was voted as the team captain. He's just one of the boys. And that meant a lot to his father, Jim Donnan.
And he said Todd was recruited a lot of different places. He went on a visit to BYU, Quarterback U in Provo, not all that far from where we are in Boise. But he said all along, I knew he wanted to play for me. He grew up, spent a lot of time in Norman, Oklahoma. While his dad was coaching, the offensive coordinator under Barry Switzer, he was the quarterback at Norman High. They had some good teams there. This is a short kick to one of the up backs.
Trying to protect against the long runs by Bowen.
Yeah, they don't want to see Bowens with the football. To the 38-yard line goes Chris Wang, a 230-pound linebacker who said, I love the opportunity to carry the football. Tony Hildy, the 3 of 9, not so much that Hildy has been off, more so that he's been running for his life.
They've just not been able to execute their offense because the good pressure that Marshall's been able to get on Hildy and on the running backs, and basically they've been able to do it with their four-man rush.
Again, blitz coming. Hildy somehow ducks inside, gets about a yard. Right up the gut came Jermaine
and Hildy's hurt.
And Hildy is down.
One of the main reasons why Boise was 3-8 last year was they really struggled on the offensive line. The biggest reason why they were able to turn it around this year is because they have a drastically improved offensive line. 4 out of the 5 players on the offensive line came in from junior college, but they're not handling the up front people from Marshall nor the blitz very well.
Mark Piatak is the guy you just saw getting ready, the backup quarterback.
Take a look at Hildy, and you're right, Swafford just comes right up the middle. Hildy's got nowhere to go, and we'll see if we can find out where he might have been injured. Right there, you got about 600 pounds of beef coming down on his right shoulder. And he struggled with a right shoulder injury earlier in the year, and I'm wondering if he didn't re-injure it.
That obviously does not look good. He is in a world of hurt right now, and he's had problems, Jim, as you say, with that right shoulder. So here comes Mark Piatek, the junior from Watsonville, California. He's thrown 4 passes all year. He's 1 of 4 for 14 yards, and one of his passes was picked off. And his club trails 24-7. And you think Marshall will come right after him. Well, not bad. Looked off a receiver and got it complete to his tight end Zimmerman. Pickup of 9. It'll be 3rd and 1. Shannon Morrison, the strong safety, made the tackle right there.
That's pretty good execution right there. And then Boise's going to go without a huddle. That's unusual. Brand new quarterback in the game. We're going to go without a huddle, 3rd down.
That's part of it, I believe, is the fact the clock's moving. 1:35 to go in the half. Ball at the 47-yard line. Here comes the option. And now the pitch to Adams. And he'll have the first down of the 48-yard line. And the clock will stop as they reset the chain. So 1:25 to go. Plenty of time for Boise State, trailing 24-7.
Boise put that play in their arsenal specifically for 3rd and short to run that speed option. Of course, they thought they were going to be running with Tony Hildy, but Piatek actually converts.
2 timeouts left for Boise State. Marshall also with 2. 1st and 10 from the 48-yard line of Marshall. Outside to Adams, and he'll have about 5 yards and gets it out of bounds. For a guy that comes into a ball game cold, literally, it's about 23 degrees outside. He looks pretty sharp.
Really did. Found his open receivers on 2 consecutive plays, and there you see Casey Adams. And Casey Adams, we talked about his running ability, also a very good receiver. Caught the ball 45 times, and also a pretty good punt returner. So an all-purpose yardage, he has been terrific. And there you see Hildy.
Headed to the locker room. The draw to Adams to the 34-yard line. Another first down. 1:09 left in the half. Jermaine Swafford, B.J. Cohen make the play.
This would be impressive without their starting quarterback, and late in the first half, down by a bunch, 24-7. If Boise could put something on the board here to get a little big mo, some momentum going into the second half.
Here comes the blitz. Red all alone in the open field is Lee Schrack. Gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Boise State. Did they ever read a blitz there? Boise State, a big play team.
They're just going to go the wide receiver screen, the middle screen right there. And once the Schrack hits the middle, hey, everybody was blitzing. There's nobody there. I'm just going to waltz right into the end zone. And Marshall, although the blitz is helping them against the run, they've gotten burned just a few times when they blitz.
Greg Erickson makes it 24-14. Mark Piatek comes off the bench, goes 3 of 3 for 48 yards and a touchdown. His first touchdown of the year. Again, he threw only 4 passes coming into this ball game. And you know what? When Hildy exited, he was 3 of 9.
Yeah. See, there you see the safety, Shannon Morrison, coming off the corner. And once Schrack gets the ball right there, look at the good blocking. Cohen's blocked. Everybody's blocked to the right side, but the safety was Shannon Morrison. He was the blitzer, so when Schrack gets to the middle of the field, there is no safety to stop him. Nobody's going to impede his progress all the way to the goal line. That's a nicely executed play by Boise.
Another interesting footnote, Mark Piatek, he's the junior, but Pokey Allen was telling us that he has a freshman quarterback that he's redshirting that he thinks will actually be the guy that eventually succeeds Hildy.
Piatek's not a slouch in his own right, though. Threw for over 4,700 yards and 46 touchdowns in junior college. So, I mean, he's a guy who knows how to throw the football.
And he was calm, cool, and collected when he came into the ball game all of a sudden. 55 seconds left. Boise State closes within 10. What a boost to their confidence, knowing that they can move it with their backup quarterback. Ball's on the ground for Marshall and knocked down at the 23-yard line. Del Graven made the tackle on Javon Darling. Marshall gets them from everywhere. Javon Darling's from Staten Island, New York. They have a number of players on their roster from Southern California, and they recruit very heavily in the southeastern corridor. Todd Donnan, no problem with what he's done today.
Wow. 12 for 14, 117 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he may not be through in this first half.
He gives to Parker, and Parker has 7 yards to the 32-yard line. Keith Walk-Green, free safety again with the tackle.
And now there's a flag as Jamie Wilson and Travis Thompson had some words, a little pushing and shoving going on there. There you see Wilson, who the coaches think is going to be a great player, and they're calling him for the foul. Really a rebuilt offensive line, as we mentioned, for Marshall. They had to replace one All-American in Chris Deaton, who started every game of his career, which was 55 in a row since his freshman year. He moved on, and Jamie Wilson came in his place and has really come on in the last few weeks. But here he's called for the personal foul.
And now you'd have to believe, back at your own 17-yard line, if there was any question as to whether you would be aggressive and try to put some more points on the board. Probably doubt it at this point. 37 seconds left, clock now moving again. Ball at the 17, and Marshall staying in the huddle for as long as they can. Todd Donnan has staked his club to a 24-14 lead. Parker slanting to the 20-yard line, and that will be the last snap of the first half. 24-14.
I'm not sure Boise wasn't trying to call a timeout. They're going to put some seconds back on the clock here. The officials, I think they're saying 2 seconds back on the clock, because I think Boise actually tried to call a timeout. The clock, there it is. But the clock operator did not see the officials calling the timeout, and therefore going to have to put 2 seconds back on the clock, and Marshall's going to have to go down on a knee.
I guess the theory behind that is, well,
make them snap it again. Maybe they'll turn it over.
Yeah, we have timeouts. Might as well use them. Maybe
they don't accumulate into the second half.
Maybe Joe Pisarcik will slip into the Marshall huddle and put the ball on the ground. Of course, you wonder why, if they were going to call timeout, they didn't do it while the clock was winding down and Marshall was in the huddle.
Pokey never does anything conventional, though.
there's a wild spot running up here in southern Idaho. They were trying to get as many people to the game as possible as Donnan puts a knee down, and now the half is officially over. And he said, if we get more than 20,000 at the game, I will ride a horse down Broadway here in Boise. He's a charismatic guy. They head off to the locker room, 24-14. The home team trailing by 10 to the thundering herd of Marshall. Marshall trying to meet Youngstown State, who already is headed to Huntington, West Virginia for next week's championship game. They lead by 10. They've been very impressive, Jim, offensively and defensively also. But the one thing that we should point out is that Boise State able with their backup quarterback to put that touchdown.
Big key in that the second quarter to get points on the board before this halftime.
Score, Marshall leading Boise State. Will come back. More halftime activities from Boise, Idaho, right after these messages. Boise, Idaho, the Thundering Herd trying to go to their 4th consecutive championship game in 1AA football. Drew Goodman back with a gentleman that knows a lot about this, Marino Kasim, who is the athletic director at Southern University, and he's on the 1AA football committee. And the beauty of 1AA football is that at the end of the year, there's no arguments. You know who the national champion is.
Well, the playoff and the championship is really the true way to determine just who is the best. And of course, it settles a lot of arguments about areas and regions and how well teams in the South compete against teams in the Midwest and the Northwest. And it just makes for a very, very, very good way to determine, who is actually playing good football in the United States.
How do you determine which school goes where during the playoffs? Now, Marshall is actually hosting the championship game regardless of whether they win this football game today, and they get a chance, if they do win, to go home and really play a home football game.
Well, actually, you've got a bid process that goes on. That if a team bids well, they get the bid and they get the nod for the host. Marshall has bid. All schools can get the same process. And it's also the same thing for hosting the quarterfinals and the semifinals and all that. And Marshall has won the bid for that.
Hey, Marino, how many schools are there in 1AA football, and what are the differences between 1A football and 1AA?
Well, actually, the difference is actually the size of the stadium, how many scholarships you can get, the broad-based expansion of the program, that kind of thing, and how many scholarships you can give per sport per year. I guess we've got got 7 or 8 conferences actually competing in 1AA football, and you've got about I guess about 90 schools that actually compete for the championship.
And how many scholarships? I guess right now the NCAA Division 1A schools, they were at 95 a couple of years ago. They're heading down towards 85. And
right.
How many at the 1AA level?
63. We're at 63 and holding.
And holding?
I don't think we're going any lower than that. That's what the fight's about.
I know in Huntington, West Virginia, where the championship will be next week, they have a gorgeous facility, great stadium, and they generally are among the nation's leaders in attendance.
Well, actually, we've got a lot of schools with great stadiums. Marshall has one, of course. Boise, this is a great one here. So it's just a matter of really who makes the bid, who has the great facility, who has had experience hosting, those kind of things that make up a great day for football. And this is a great day for football, and this is good for 1AA football today.
And it's not just 1AA football that has grown since 1978, the first year that they had the playoff, but sports in general growing at the 1AA level.
Well, I mean, actually, we're finding out that you've got to market your sport. You've got to go out and make it entertainment. You've got to make it exciting for the public. You've got to go out and get sponsors for your ball game. You've got to make it work. And we've got more guys at the helm now who understand the business. And it's not just getting guys who were educated in coaching and all that. You know, you've got guys who have expertise in marketing and advertising and that kind of thing to make it work. And football's a business, but we can't forget that we're here as a means to an end. Of course, that's the academic side of it.
What does the future hold for 1AA football and 1AA sports in general? Well,
I can't see anything but positive things for 1AA football. I think we're going to get bigger, but we're going to get better. People are more recognized. We're more recognizable now. We're getting more exposure, and we'll be just a step behind the 1As. And there's a fine line understand really the differential between the two. And we've got so much great diversity actually in 1AA that it makes us exciting, and I think people are really understanding now what we're all about.
Who's going to come in and break up this dynasty Youngstown State has, and also Marshall? They look pretty fine today.
Well, we've got great football in that part of the country, and of course Youngstown's been doing great, and Marshall does a great job, and they've got other teams all over. And we just want to showcase it, and you guys are doing a great job doing that.
I want to ask you a quick question about a guy that I know you've seen play throughout his career, Steve McNair, because he's down in your part of the woods, and you're down at Southern University. But here's a guy at Alcorn State that was mentioned for the Heisman Trophy. That'll be given out later today. He'll probably garner a lot of votes. Well,
Steve's a very good football player. He's a magnificent athlete. He can run the football as well as throw it. Fine character. He's really the typical kind of guy that you would want to win the Heisman. I think he's the best athlete in America. I think that if they're going to give it to the best athlete, it should go to Steve. If it gets political, then who knows?
By the way, I see you have your galoshes on today. We will not show them right now. A little cooler here in Boise, Idaho than Baton Rouge, Louisiana, isn't it?
I'm very glad I got them on, too.
There you go. Hey, Marino Kasem, thanks very much for stopping by.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right. The athletic director at Southern University, 24-14. We're in Boise, Idaho. The Thundering Herd leading the Broncos. Game. They're well on their way, trying to head to another national championship game. They lead 24-14. Drew Goodman back with Jim Ryan, and Boise State closed to within 10 to end the first half. What do you think's going on in their locker room?
I think they're a little bit excited, except that with Hildy, they really need to get him back in the game. You know, they said he hurt the shoulder early in the first quarter, and that's what made the interception flutter. We didn't know that, but his shoulder is really hurting, and they are going to maybe try to get him back in the game. But if they can't, Piatek's done pretty well too. So I think they're just a little bit unsure. Marshall's in their locker room saying, more of the same, boys. You know, 24-14, we're up by 10. We just need to execute offensively and defensively.
It's that business-like approach of Marshall working just fine for the Thundering Herd. Earlier today, you saw it on Prime Network, the first of our two semifinal games. Youngstown State, the Penguins, taking on another team from the Big Sky Conference, the Montana Grizzlies, and it was all Youngstown State. And Sean Patton started off the scoring with a 2-yard run. He get in the end zone again. A little while later in the second quarter, Mark Berngard, the quarterback, hit him, and he scored from 14 yards. They went on to win 28-9. So Youngstown State, they own 2 of the last 3 national championships. Both of those victories over Marshall. They lost to Marshall in 1992. They're heading to Huntington, West Virginia, the home of the Thundering Herd. And, of course, the Herd hopes they're back at home to take on the Penguins.
It would be unprecedented to have these teams meet 4 times in a row. And it'll be the 3rd time that they meet in Huntington, and they've split there. And Marshall likes to play at home. They did play at one neutral site the first year in 1991 in Statesboro, Georgia. But I think Marshall would like another crack at Youngstown State. They're only 1-2 against them. They can even the score if they can win this football game and get into the championship again.
And they've been evenly matched clubs over the last couple of years. Let's show you some highlights from this one. Again, Marshall took the opening drive and went 75 yards for a touchdown. And at one point, they had to convert a 1st and 25 situation. They went to the fade route. Tim Martin ran a corner route, and Todd Donnan laid it out there perfectly. It was 7-0 Marshall.
Great touch pass by Todd Donnan, and we didn't think he could throw the deep pass, but he did. And then this is going to be the first score by Boise State. And you talk about different plays that teams try to run. This is the option off the handoff, and Adams has the option to pitch it to Bowens, but he's got a nice big hole there, and you see practically untouched into the end zone.
And that, at that point, made it 17-7. Marshall scored, made it 24-7, and then right before the half, they were able to get in the end zone, Boise State, to make it 24-14. Looking at the first half numbers, total offense for Marshall, no surprise. They've had the football a long time, and they've been productive.
Yeah, they really have. And I don't think they're finished, but I don't think Boise State is finished either. You see total plays, Marshall has 44. Boise State only 23. If they can get Marshall off the field, get their offense back on the field a few times, Boise's going to put some numbers up. You know, if both teams just hit their averages, we'll have over 70 points scored in this game.
Right. And for a defensive guy, what are you talking about all this offense? You like that offense?
Well, that's because these teams, 1AA is offensive football. It's great.
That's right. In the Big Sky, they like to throw it, and Marshall likes to do a little of both. Again, it's 24-14. Marshall at halftime, leading by 10 over the home team, Boise State. We'll come back right after these messages on Prime Network. Here's your score at halftime. Drew Goodman, Jim Ryan from a cold but pretty day in Idaho. Boise, Idaho, the place. Boise State at home this year, 9-0. Their only loss was 32-31 to Idaho State. Other than that, they've been perfect this year. Marshall also 12-1, and coming into the game in the Division I AA football poll, Marshall was number 2 and Boise State number 3, and that's good news. Tony Hildy, who was helped off to the locker room a couple of moments before the end of the first half, is out throwing the football again. Well, I guess he is tough.
Yeah, he is tough. I'll tell you, that's a big key for them. And there you see, in the first half, he was only 3 for 9, 33 yards, but he is the leader. We can see that he's a playmaker. When things go wrong and the offensive line breaks down, Hildy's still going to make something happen. So despite the success of Piatek, I think that certainly Boise State and their head coach, Pokey Allen, they would love to see Hildy back in the ballgame. A shoulder injury, he had an AC shoulder bruise earlier in the year, and they're saying he just re-injured that, and he actually re-injured it in the first quarter before he had the pile fall on top of him late in the second quarter, so he's banged it up a few times.
I know a million coaches and trainers told you throughout your decade in the NFL there's a difference between being hurt and being in pain. And I think right now he's probably in a lot of pain.
Like Yogi Berra said, pain don't hurt.
I thought you said that. Here we go, second half underway. Boise State will get the football, and they go to Bowens, who's had 2 long returns already today. Not this time. Dropped at the 26-yard line. So that is where Boise State will put it into play. Trailing by 10, chance to get right back in the football week.
They had 0 yards just in the first quarter. Hildy threw 4 picks in the first half last week against Appalachian State. They were able to come back and win that ball game 17-14.
But the quarterback is Mark Piatek, despite the fact that Hildy was warming up and looked to be okay. Underneath pass for a couple of yards as pressure coming off the edge on the corner, and they get it to Del Graven, and he has a minimal gain. 4 of 4 so far for Mark Piatek, and he had 4 pass attempts all year long. Hildy was a rock in there.
All right, I want to change. Let's keep him in there. He's executing very well, and even though it's a short game, just a 4-yard pickup, he's able to find the open receiver with defenders in his face.
Howski goes to the far side. Full house backfield again. And here comes that option look. Adams, this time it's very well defended. Barber stands him up in the hole and drives him backwards. Albert Barber, the sophomore from Morrow, Georgia.
Marshall does a great job defensively just stringing this out. You'll see Adams take the handoff, and now, do I have an alley to run? No. Can I pitch the ball? No, because Marshall's got it defended both ways.
It'll be 3rd down and 7. No gain on that last play. Slot to the near side. Check that slot to the top now. First down, 40-yard line. Good strike to Ryan Akibi, the sophomore from Lynn, Oregon, who had 42 receptions during the regular season, in front of Jason Grayson.
Jason Grayson forced to start this year because of the loss of a great cornerback, Tawan Reynolds, for Marshall. Reynolds was hurt and actually paralyzed in a kind of a freak accident just playing in the snow last January, and Jason Grayson and his teammates have dedicated the season to Tawan Reynolds.
Inside handoff, Casey Adams. Not a lot of room in the middle of that Marshall defense. Maybe he got a yard. Another story about Jason Grayson. He's from McKeesport, Pennsylvania. His father, Gerald, actually played at Boise State. Back then he was known as Puddin Grayson, and there is a picture
there
of Puddin.
There he is.
Puddin Grayson.
He said his father just wanted to get out of McKeesport, Pennsylvania. He wanted to go as far away as he could get, and he said Boise was about as far as he could go. He actually played running back here in '68 and '69.
Byron Turner is the man shaken up. 5'11", 280-pound junior. As you look at Grayson, said, I think my father will be rooting for Marshall today. Not his alma mater.
Yeah.
blood runs thicker than, I guess, the ties to a school because you attended there.
Time out of the field. There's an injured player.
Turner, 5'11" and 280. That's a lot of load on a 5'11" body, and hopefully he's all right. We'll come back, check on him after this. And there's Byron Turner, who was just helped off the field, and this is not pretty.
Yeah, watch his left knee. You're going to see Jordan LePayne, the tackle for Boise State, just run right into his knee, gets bent over backwards, and looks like he twisted that left knee.
2nd down and 9. High attack. Complete to Howski at the 40-yard line. Jared Howski did a great job of pretending the ball wasn't coming his way.
He was just playing a little mind game with Melvin Cunningham, the cornerback, kind of giving the old look, oh, it's not coming my way, and all of a sudden the ball shows up. Howski, 6 foot, 180, has been a great player. He had a pulled glute muscle, and they weren't sure he was even going to be able to play. You see Piatek go with the fake, and then Howski's able to get away from Melvin Cunningham, number 25.
And Boise State's on the move at the 40-yard line of Marshall. Casey Adams sneaks up as if to block the blitz. Swafford looks like he's coming. He does. Picked up by Adams. Now he's trying to get it deep to Howski, and a great job of Howski to get his hands on the ball. Superb coverage by Jason Grayson. And that is the first incomplete pass by Piatek. And you know what? That was on the money, too.
Yeah, it really was a good throw, but the one adjustment that we see Boise State already making, they were able to pick up the blitz that time, and Piatek had plenty of time to throw. Watch number 13, Adams. He's going to pick up the blitzer, Jermaine Swafford, and that's why Piatek, although he gets nailed at the end, he's got enough time to try to throw that ball deep. And you're right, Howski prevents the interception.
2nd down and 10. Piatek's got Adams on a screen. Adams stays in. Cuts it back. Ball's on the turf, and I think Marshall has it. We hadn't had a fumble all game. Marshall football. Eric Clausen fell on it. And Billy Lyon knocked it free from behind. Casey Adams made a great move to pick up the 1st down, but he was hit from behind.
Watch Casey Adams take the ball right there, and then he makes a great cut as he stops and then goes. He runs right around Eric Clausen, who overruns it. And then as he gets into the secondary, it's Billy Lyon who knocks it free. And the one problem that Boise State has in the postseason is turning the football over. The regular season, they're +4. In the postseason, they're -5 in turnover margin.
And -2 today is Chris Parker. Has 11. To the 39-yard line before Walk Green brings him down. That really, really hurts Boise State because they took the opening kickoff. They were in plus territory. Piatek has the hot hand. They can go down. If they make it 24-21, it's a whole new ball game. And now Marshall, with a 10-point lead, has great field position. Todd Donnan remains the quarterback. Parker's been the workhorse. Straight ahead for about 3. Sion Fafita made the tackle. And off by himself. Sometimes head coaches need to get away.
Lost in his own thoughts, I guess, huh?
Pokey Allen. Pokey Allen was the MVP of the Liberty Bowl back in 1964. He was the quarterback for the University of Utah. They knocked off West Virginia 31-6. His counterpart, Jim Donnan, was also the MVP of the Liberty Bowl in 1967 for NC State. Complete, 1st down yardage. Flip side of the 50 to the 48-yard line is Tim Martin.
Well, Boise State not having a lot of things go their way as they come up with the other, or actually turn the ball over for the 2nd time today. But Drew, as you mentioned, Pokey Allen, Alan Borges, Tom Mason, the coordinators and the head coach for Boise said this is a special group of kids. These are kids that just will not quit. They don't know the meaning of the word quit.
Right now, they better find out the meaning of the word defense. Parker slashes for another 5 or 6 yards. Travis Thompson again had to make the tackle, but he's made a couple in the backfield tonight. That one was down the football field a little bit. Give him 6 yards.
The offensive line from Marshall doing a good job up front. You're seeing a lot of just 5-6 yard gains by Chris Parker. This is kind of the earmark of this team. This is the way they move the football. And they had to rebuild that offensive line. Lost at least one All-American, a couple other all-conference players in the offensive line from a year ago, but they've rebuilt it very well.
Boise State comes with a blitz on the corner, and Parker runs right toward the blitz man and past him for 3 or 4. He's probably going to be just about a yard short of another first down at the 40-yard line. 28 carries now for Chris Parker, 111 yards. He's a junior from Lynchburg, Virginia. He scored 22 touchdowns this year. He was over 1,500 yards rushing. And he also has soft hands, 32 catches. 3rd and 1. Parker gets the call. Parker, I don't know. Thompson again makes the play in the backfield. He's a defensive tackle, and he's getting close to double figures in stops.
He gets great penetration from the right side of the line, and he just defeats the block of the left guard, Dan Boslett, and then just gets penetration, is able to bring Parker right down around the hips and the legs, and you have to hit Parker low so he doesn't fall forward for the extra yard or 2. Great play by Travis Thompson.
Another 4th down for Marshall. They succeeded on their first 4th down of the ball game. They go on a toss sweep. Parker will have the first down. Twisting to the 35-yard line is Chris Parker.
Boy, he is so strong. I like the leg drive of that young man. He was hit right at about the first down marker by number 8, Brian Smith. And he looks like he wants to come out. I think Parker's a little bit tired. There's his numbers. He's hit right at the first down marker by Brian Smith and a host of other defenders for the Broncos, but still is able to fall forward, gets that first down.
Chris Parker now over 4,000 yards in his career at Marshall. It's a school record. He had 153 last week against James Madison. Donnan going on a deep shot, and Ricky Carter, excuse me, was well covered downfield by DeJuan Miller.
Haven't heard a lot from Ricky Carter in this game. He's a guy that had 26 catches on the year, most of them just in the last couple regular season games, because he missed a lot of playing time with both a hand injury and a knee injury. Ricky Carter, one of the real weapons that Marshall has. Good coverage, as you mentioned, from Miller.
2nd down and 10. Slot comes to the bottom of your screen. Fumble. Thomas got it right back. Eric Thomas, who subs for Chris Parker, lost the ball on the handoff, but fortunately for him, it bounced straight up. Sion Fafita and Brian Smith made the stop.
And Drew, I was watching Todd Donnan after that play, and he's looking over to the sideline for Chris Parker. And no disrespect to Thomas, but he's saying, Chris, get in here. We need you in here. And he told Thomas to go out of the ball game, and now Chris Parker's back in to handle the football for the Thundering Herd.
You know, it's got to be hard to handle the ball, especially if you haven't played, because it is very cold. It's about 23 degrees, and the temperature's dropping. 3rd down. Donnan's going to be short to Martin. Martin got his hands on it, but couldn't keep it from hitting the turf. So now it'll be 4th down, and will we see Travis Colquitt, the punter, for the first time?
I would imagine so. I don't think that you're going to see the field goal team from this far away.
It's a shame you're not going to see Colquitt get a chance to really unload on the ball. He is one of the best punters in college football, Division 1A or 1AA. Averaging close to 46 yards a punt. Now, if Colquitt's name sounds familiar, well, it should. Yeah. Remember Craig Colquitt? He's had 3 relatives who have punted in the NFL.
His uncle, his cousin, and his father all punted in the NFL. Probably the most famous was Craig punting for Pittsburgh for about 8 or 9 years.
And you know what? Travis is a senior, and he might punt in the NFL. We were watching him in practice yesterday. I mean, he really hits the football.
This guy has unbelievable numbers. He's only punted 32 times. He's got a 45.6-yard average. That would lead the nation by about 2 or 3 yards, except he doesn't have enough punts, only 32 punts. But 16 of them have been inside the 20, 7 of them inside the 5 with only 1 touchback. That's unbelievable.
It is, especially, a lot of times you'll have guys with strong legs, but they're not good in terms of being a directional punter. This guy has the whole package, and Marshall led the nation in net punting. Well, the minute we sing his praises, he gets one down to the 1-yard line, but that was one of the uglier punts you will ever see.
He was just trying to pooch that ball down there. I'm not so sure that wasn't planned. Maybe that's why he has all these punts inside the 5-yard line.
Jim, I might not have had the same result, but I could have punted it just like that.
Yeah, but you would have been trying to punt it hard.
That's right. I would have been trying for real. Well, you sing his praises, and he comes up with a ugly line drive. Looked like a broken bat single, but it was effective.
It was effective. That's great execution on the part of Marshall and their special teams. That's why they led the nation in net punting, 42.9 net average in punting.
Piatek remains the quarterback. Adams slips through a hole. Casey Adams will have a first down to the 14-yard line. For a moment, just for a moment, he was looking at 98.
I think you're right. He stumbles a little bit on the blue turf. Perhaps if it was green, he wouldn't stumble. No, I think that what happens here is he stumbles. Look at this from way up top. He's got a nice hole. Lyons comes across, does not get him, makes a nice cut there. He can, and that's his forte, is being able to cut, stop and go runner. And if he doesn't trip right there, he perhaps goes all the way.
He had a blocker downfield. Again, Marshall showing blitz. Swafford, the middle backer, has come a lot. Bootleg. Piatek complete somehow in a crowd to the 20-yard line to Jared Howski.
And now Boise's starting to execute their offense like they know how. Howski just lines up about 4 or 5 yards split off the end. See right there on the right of your screen, he's only split from the tackle about 4 or 5 yards, and that's how he gets to the middle so quickly. Piatek just a little roll and is able to maybe not throw a bullet, but he hits Howski right in the numbers.
And he got 7 yards on that Billy Kilmer job. Casey Adams is the ace back, and he gets the football. And he's dropped almost immediately at the line of scrimmage. It's Barber from his outside linebacker position. He's one of the few players for Marshall that played last year as a true freshman.
He was the Atlanta Journal-Constitution Defensive Player of the Year from Morrow, Georgia.
If you wonder, if you're at home wondering, who do these schools recruit? They're 1AA. They recruit a lot of kids that they sell them on coming to Marshall or coming to Boise State. Maybe if they went to a 1A program in the SEC or the Pac-10, they'd only play for a year or so. And here they say, hey, you'll play for 2 or 3 years. And that's out to the 32-yard line. Casey Adams swinging out of the backfield will have a first down. The offense is really clicking with the backup quarterback, Mark Piatek.
Well, I think this is a credit to Alan Borges and his offensive staff. They're just coming up and making adjustments since halftime to come up with some different plays. That time, Casey Adams lines up wide. You see him right off the tackle right there. He's wide. You know he's not going to run the football, and he comes just on a little arrow pattern, goes to the middle. He sees the linebackers in there, and then he adjusts his pattern, goes back out. Piatek does a great job of finding him, and there's a lot of open room for Adams.
Offset eye on 1st and 10. And now Piatek will call a timeout. He didn't like what he saw. 5:33 to go third quarter. Same score as what we had at halftime. 24-14. The Thundering Herd leading the Boise State Broncos. Marshall leading by 10 with Jim Ryan. I'm Drew Goodman from Boise, Idaho. That is Mark Piatek, the backup quarterback, who threw only 4 passes coming into this ball game all year in 13 ball games, and look at those numbers.
But as we mentioned, a guy not without experience, at least in junior college, came out of Caprio Junior College, over 4,700 yards of passing.
Flea flicker. And This is up for grabs. Howski was downfield, and that was a jump ball.
Well, he can't get his feet set. Can Piatek watch? He's going to give it to Adams, and then Adams flies it back to him, and then the blitz coming up the middle from Swafford, and then from the left side, John Duncan. And Piatek's just not able to set his feet, has to try to throw it off the back foot. And you're right, that was a duck that was just up for grabs. Anybody could have come down with that one.
Second down and 10. Howski and Akibi go to the top. And that was another wide receiver screen, and Akibi was hit just as the ball arrived. 26, Roger Johnson, the free safety who had an interception in the first half, the two-time All-American.
Alex Toyas and Akibi kind of got mixed up over there as they tried to complete the pass, but now with 3rd and 10, again, Boise looking at a situation where they really need to do something to spark their offense. They started this drive well inside the 5-yard line. They've taken some time off the clock, but that's not what they need. They need points at this point, and they need a big play here.
Zimmerman goes to the strong side of the formation. And now Schrack in motion. Throwing a catch right in front of the defender. It's Ryan Akibi. Terrific throw and a wonderful catch. Great coverage by Melvin Cunningham. Everybody did their job.
You're exactly right. Akibi just runs a little out route, and the timing from Piatek is absolutely perfect. Watch Piatek. He's going to look to the right side all the way. Akibi 80's the outside receiver. He's one-on-one with Melvin Cunningham. And then the strike, boy, that's great coverage. You think he's going to get a hand on it, but Ryan Akibi able to haul it in. Well executed by quarterback and receiver.
First down at the 47. They fake the draw. Piatek throwing a double coverage, and it's intercepted downfield. It'll be a touchback. 25 is Melvin Cunningham, who went 100 yards last week with an interception.
And again, the turnovers just continue to plague Boise State in the postseason. Their 3rd turnover of the day, their 2nd interception, but that ball was not a well-thrown ball, and he throws right into double coverage on Cunningham and Grayson. Both have the coverage on Ryan Akibi. And right here, they go play action, and this is a home run type of offense. They want to go up top quite a bit, and they've been successful. But right here, he's got double coverage, and Akibi almost comes up with this ball there. He gets his hand on it, but off the tip, Melvin Cunningham gets the INT.
And they mark it at the 2-yard line, even though momentum took him into the end zone. And here's Parker with room. Chris Parker to the 19.
And you know what? That's probably as big a play as the interception itself. Because if it's an incomplete pass, then Boise's going to end up punting the football. So Marshall gets the ball in poor field position on their own 2, but on the first play, give it to Chris Parker, who gets it out to the 20-yard line. And that play is maybe even more key than the interception itself.
4:41 to go, 3rd quarter. Marshall leading, and they're content to put it on the ground and work the clock. Parker this time met and dropped abruptly by Sion Fafita, who goes about 290 pounds. Parker, terrific numbers. He's going to need a hot bath after this one.
You know, 4.3-yard average. That's well below his average of the year, 5.6. If you're Boise, you're saying, we're not doing that bad a job. They're just giving him the ball.
Donnan swings it out to Gross, and he keeps his pins on the ground for a while and gets it out for perhaps a yard gain. It'll set up another one of those 3rd down and long for Marshall. And they have converted seemingly every one of those 3rd down and long yardage.
You know, that's become a popular play in college football. It looks like it's just a little swing pass, but what's happening is the outside receivers are going in and cracking on the linebackers and the strong safety. It's called a crack screen. And when it's well executed, it can really be an effective play. But that time, Stephen Reed, the linebacker for Boise, able to slip underneath the crack block and make the play.
They also had a guard pulling on it. They'll go out of the shotgun here. 4 receivers, blitz coming. Donnan reads it, and he threw the out route and his receiver ran a hook. He was trying to get the football to Theron Todd. So Marshall forced to punt for the second consecutive time. 3:20 left, and this is still very much a ball game. 3:20 left in the third.
The first time that Boise State is able to come with an effective blitz. There's our man Colquitt.
Yep. Travis Colquitt will punt it deep to Casey Adams. And he hits this one much better than his first. And Adams will watch it roll, and this thing will roll inside the 20, and the wind grabs it. And they're blowing on it a little bit, and it's still going all the way to the 11-yard line. That's how you get a 45-plus yard average. That is a 66-yard punt from Colquitt. 24-14, Herd. Marshall has held on to the football for most of this game. They have a 10-point lead, and look who's back at quarterback, Tony Hildy. The starter, we haven't seen him since late in the second quarter. He had that shoulder injury. But his backup did just fine, Mark Piatek. See how Hildy throws it. That's a pretty good strike to Ryan Akibi for 10. 4 of 10 now for Hildy, and I'm wondering if he can come into the ball game with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Why didn't he start the second half?
Why not put him in earlier? And I think that's a good point. Piatek threw the ball very well, did throw the interception, and it wasn't a poorly thrown ball, just an ill-advised throw. And I think what Pokey Allen's thinking is here that even though Piatek performed well when he was in there, he didn't put any points on the board so far in this third quarter. And Hildy, our starter, maybe this will spark us. You know, he's our leader. And I think that that's why they're putting him back in the ball game.
Blitz coming. Hildy says, I'll take it myself. He might be hurt, but he's fearless, and he gets about 7 yards. And I don't know if that was a planned QB draw. Do you think it was?
I don't think it was. I think that he just saw the blitz coming, avoids it, and just tries to get what he can. But Hildy is a guy who has a strong arm. They describe him as having a rifle for an arm. As a matter of fact, had to learn how to take a little bit off the ball. He threw it too hard to his receivers, and that shoulder injury, in some regard, was good for him because he couldn't throw the ball as hard.
Baseball shortstop, again drafted in high school by the Giants. Swing pass on the screen. Adams with room. Adams. This is where he's dangerous in the broken field all the way to the 43. Roger Johnson, the free safety, finally brought him down.
Hey, where's the coverage for Marshall on the right side here? You see right there, Adams gets the ball. Once he outruns Duncan, there's no one with a white jersey. You see Will Edwards diving for Adams, but until he gets about 30 yards downfield and meets up with Roger Johnson.
They mark it at the 44. Boise State on the move again. Again, they trail 24-14. Howski goes in motion. Tight end is all alone. This is Zimmerman inside the 20 to the 19.
This is why they put Tony Hildy back in the football game. Watch John Duncan, the defensive end right now, right to the right of your screen. And he's supposed to be rushing the quarterback. Yes, you want to keep Hildy in the pocket, but not let him just get an alley and able to hit his tight end right there. Duncan has to keep coming upfield and force Hildy to do something. He didn't do it. Hildy had plenty of time. His tight end's wide open.
Mark Piatek, he's got the jacket on. He looks on now. 1st and 10 from the 21. Again, the blitz coming. Hildy throws the out route. Howski makes a great hands catch. It'll be a short gain, about 4 yards. Albert Barber dropped him. Jared Howski, 81, is the lone senior starter for the offensive unit. He's a 3-time all-academic pick in the Big Sky Conference. They are very young. Just 3 seniors start on defense for Boise State.
And Howski wrote an open letter to his teammates before this season started, and he started the letter by saying, to my fellow Big Sky champions and 1AA national champions. He knew way back in the summer that they had a chance to be a good football team.
Probably some people in the media, had they seen that, would have been wondering, how can he say that? We were 3-8 last year. Akibi knocked away at the last moment by Jason Grayson, and he was turned around. And that is where, rather than the changeup, you wanted to see the fastball from Hildy.
That's exactly right. Hildy's going to deliver this ball with a touch. He's going to put a lot of air underneath this, but what he needed to do was use his strong arm and throw a little bit more of a bullet, because as you see, Akibi is open, and he's spending time just waiting for the football to get there, and Grayson able to buy or use that time that the ball's in the air to catch back up to Akibi and knock it away.
With 48 seconds left in the third, this is a huge play. 3rd and 7, they need the 10-yard line. Hildy's got the 8-yard line. Running the quick out is Howski, the senior from Marysville, Washington. A great route runner, the best hands on the team.
Howski's just going to run a little out pattern right in front of Melvin Cunningham, and Marshall is mostly a zone team. In that case, they played off. They played kind of a soft zone. Hildy picks it apart.
1st and goal inside the 9. Track in motion. And now Hildy wants to change things. Play clock's down to 2. Here comes a speed option, and Hildy is dumped as he tried to get free. Jermaine Swafford has been everywhere today.
And when you see Hildy up to the line of scrimmage, Drew, changing the play, remember, this guy's only a sophomore. He took a beating as a freshman a year ago, but he learned a lot from that. He's a smart football player.
We close the book on the 3rd quarter. It was 24-14 at intermission. It remains so. 2nd and goal for Boise State as they try to get closer to Marshall. We'll come back to Boise, Idaho right after this. Frigid day in Boise, Idaho. With Jim Ryan, I'm Drew Goodman. 1AA semifinal game number 2. Earlier today, Youngstown State knocked off Montana. Boise State trailing by 10. 2nd and goal at the 9 for Tony Hildy. He's got the fade route, and Akibi could not make the circus catch. I don't know if he would have had a foot in bounds had he been able to come up with a catch. So now it is 3rd and goal at the 9.
And they seem to like that matchup, Ryan Akibi on Jason Grayson. And it seems like they're trying to go to that. 2 out of the last 3 plays have been to that matchup. And Akibi, certainly a guy that can take advantage of his speed. He was the fastest high school athlete in Oregon his senior year.
Hildy started out 3 of 9, so he's improved quite a bit, and it's all been on this drive. Another big play. He's got time, end zone shot, broken up. And there comes the flag. 27 is Shannon Morrison. Ryan Akibi the intended target, and they're going to call interference on Morrison.
The 3rd-year starter, Shannon Morrison from Marshall, and I think why they're going to call this is because he's not playing the football, he's playing the receiver. The ball is just thrown behind the receiver, and see that? Number 27, he's playing Akibi, but he's got his eyes right on the receiver, and he makes contact before the ball actually makes it there. And what Shannon Morrison, to avoid the penalty, has to do is turn his head right there. See, if he turns his head to the ball, he's not going to get that call. But as he makes contact with the receiver, he's going to get called for pass interference.
You know what? If he turns his head, he might even get an interception.
Or it's going to hit him right in the face.
So it's 1st and goal inside the 3-yard line. Double tight end formation. Adams the lone back. Adams with the football. Adams with the touchdown. And Boise State right back in it. Casey Adams, who was quiet in the first half. That's the 10th touchdown of the year for the junior.
He's going to cut right behind the block of Alex Toyas, number 64, right there, and get into the end zone. Also a nice block from Martez Benes, the left guard. So good blocking up front by the Broncos.
Greg Erickson, 24-21. 16 seconds into the 4th quarter. It's a 3-point football game, courtesy of the 2-yard run from Casey Adams. State in the first half, during several points, looked like they were hopelessly out of it. Now they're just down 3, 16 seconds into the fourth quarter, and they have outgained Marshall in the second half, 174 to 58. Tim Martin from the 7. And he is belted around the 24-yard line. So Marshall, after getting that big 24-7 lead, Jim, almost as if they've gone through the motions the last quarter and a half.
Well, Marshall's a team that really hasn't been tested that much during the course of the year. They're a team that has only been behind in a ball game one time, and that was to Appalachian State. They actually lost that ball game at the end of the football game. But their schedule did not really test them all that much, and here through the playoffs, they had to go into overtime to beat James Madison a week ago, and now in the fourth quarter, they're in a ball game with Boise State.
Donnan has thrown a lot of short passes, as you can see by those numbers, but he has a couple of touchdowns. Parker tried to make a cut, and the turf is a little bit slick. So Chris will lose a yard.
And as usually happens, one unit fires up the other unit. Tony Hildy comes on and leads his team to a touchdown, comes off the bench, an injured warrior, and now the defense, I'm sure, for Boise State saying it's our turn to turn up the heat.
One receiver to the near side. Martin in the slot, inside of Goodwin to the top. Straight back goes Donnan. Pressure coming. Now he just throws it away. It'll be third down and 11, and that Boise State team is fired up.
So is the crowd. Donnan wanted Martin right across the middle. Martin double covered just in the zone. No, he can't find anybody. Donnan had plenty of time to get the football off, but the late pressure from Boise forces the incompletion.
By the way, Pokey Allen won't have to get on that horse, or he will have to get on that horse, because there's more than 20,000 in the house. 20,068. Third down and 11. Blitz coming. Full package. Donnan over the head of Goodwin. He had him open right at the sticks. Marshall 3 and out. They didn't punt in the first half. They now will punt for their third consecutive time. And they held the football for 51 seconds. That is all. 13:53 to go in the fourth quarter. 24-21. Marshall clinging to a 3-point lead. He's punting into a big wind, and Colquitt does not hit that well. But again, he gets a pretty decent bounce. 40-yard line is where Boise State will take over.
And for the second time, Casey Adams cost his team a little bit of field position by not fielding the punt. Same situation in the last punt, but still at their own 41-yard line. Boise State just about 60 yards from tying this, or excuse me, from going ahead in this football game.
So after the 35-yard punt, Boise State and Tony Hildy from their 41. They go on a sweep to Casey Adams. Casey Adams straight for about 8 yards. That's that old Green Bay sweep.
That's all they do is just pull the two guards, and they get around that side. He eludes the tackle of the linebacker Jerome Embry, who had actually gained some penetration, and then gets a nice block, as he did on the touchdown run, but he gets a nice block from Martez Venus, the left guard, who's playing very well late in this football game.
Second down and 2. Maybe it's a gambling down. Boise State all of a sudden with plenty of momentum. Track departs the backfield. Hildy wants a whole bunch. Akimi's out there, and it's intercepted downfield. It's Melvin Cunningham, second pick of the game. No, sir, he says.
Man, they're trying to get that matchup all day long. Akimi and Melvin Cunningham, and this is the second time that Cunningham comes out big. But again, not a real well-thrown ball. Watch Hildy as he'll do a little half roll right here. The penetration from Marshall makes him pull up. He's got to avoid the tackler, and then that ball pretty wobbly. That's not a typical Tony Hildy pass. And that shoulder hurting him enough where he can't throw the deep balls effectively as usual.
So Marshall at the 9-yard line. You know what? Ryan Akibi had a step or two on Cunningham.
Ball's underthrown.
They go toss sweep. Parker accelerates across the 10. Got 5 to the 14.
And for Boise, I don't think that they should see that. Even though their 4th turnover of the day, they can't see that as something that really takes the momentum away, because Marshall does not have good field position. They start this drive inside the 10-yard line, and if the Boise State defense can come up big, they're still right in this football game. Plenty of time left. It's down 3 points.
On Marshall, I might pepper him a little more with Chris Parker. 2nd down and 5. Gross heads in motion. Parker again with the football. Weston got him from behind. The junior from Carson City, Nevada. Short gain. It'll be 3rd down and 3. One of the unusual things about the closeness of this Boise State football team is that, we talked about it earlier, 16 junior college transfers, and usually when you have a team with so many new players, an influx of new players, it takes a while for them to gel.
Yeah, but they've gelled very well. They've come in and just they've made a mark themselves, made their own identity instead of carrying something on that's been here.
Javon Darling's in the backfield for Marshall on 3rd and 3, and Donnan trying to change the play.
Here comes a blitz.
And I don't know if they got it off. A flag comes in, and they might have taken too much time. That's exactly what it is. So 5 more yards that they'll have to overcome. It'll be 3rd down and 8.
And Ty Donnan just a little bit rattled as he's trying to get the play changed at the line of scrimmage. Awfully loud in here, hard for his linemen to hear. But he sees the blitz coming, just cannot get the play off in time. And credit Boise State and their defense for really shaking up the offense at this point in the ball game of Marshall. Tom Mason, the defensive coordinator, was largely credited with his game plan that beat Montana. Blitzed 75 times in 78 plays.
That's amazing. I couldn't believe that when he told us that. 3 receivers to the top. 3rd and 8 for Marshall. And here comes the crowd. Here comes the blitz again. Donnan avoids it. Donnan's got a lot of room. He'll have the 1st down of the 25-yard line. Great play by the senior from Norman, Oklahoma. He broke containment and said, I'll do it myself.
He did the same thing in last year's semifinal game. And look at the blitz right up the middle. Stephen Reed is there, but there's nobody to contain. He's going to outrun Brian Smith. And here's something his father probably doesn't want him to do. Get out of bounds, Todd. No, he cuts back inside and takes the hit from Rasheed Gale.
So Marshall keeps the chains going. And Chris Parker stood up, driven back. Brian Smith and Travis Thompson again. He's had a huge football game. 270-pounder from Glendale, Arizona, went to Glendale Junior College, sports psychology major. See, there's a guy who likes to hit. See all those scars on the top of his helmet?
And
the blue's wearing off.
Yeah, he doesn't want the equipment manager to rub those off either. So there's ways to get rid of those. He said, no, just keep those on there. It's intimidating to the other guys.
Stick marks. 2nd and 9. Again, Brian Smith walks up as if to blitz. He backs off. Parker can't break the tackle of Vince Watson. This is a different Boise State football team the last quarter and a half.
Watson makes a terrific play, not only to bring down Parker, but he was playing off a block in the process. And then he has the strength to not allow Parker to run through his tackle. Vince Watson, the transfer from Portland State, came over with Pokey.
Third down and 9.
The average keeps getting smaller.
Donnan loses the football, still on the ground. Marshall recovers it, but they'll have to punt, and they lose a whole bunch of real estate. Joe O'Brien was in there. Tom Mason, the defensive coordinator, has him sell out on D.
And it's not a bad snap. It just goes right through the hands of Donnan. And right there, O'Brien had his hands on the football, but Pinnell, the right tackle, or excuse me, the left tackle for Marshall, able to come up with it. But that's just Todd Donnan, lack of concentration just to catch the football in the shotgun formation.
Colquitt kicks it away from Adams, and it takes a Boise State bounce. And it'll be marked at the 45-yard line, the plus 45. So the Broncos, trailing by 3, will have great field position when we come back. All about close football games. Their last 4 wins have been by 4 points or less. They're in a 3-pointer right now. They have the football, trailing by 3 at the 45-yard line of Marshall. Casey Adams swivels his hips and pirouettes to the 38. Lyon on the tackle.
I think if you'd have told Pokey Allen at the end of the first half, with his quarterback hurt, that with 8:25 to go in the game, you'd be down 3 inside your opponent's 40-yard line. I'm not sure even he would have believed this. But Casey Adams makes the nice, subtle move to buy himself a couple extra yards. But again, a good first down play, and they now are faced with just a 2nd and 4.
Hildy swings it wide. Akibi has the first down, out of bounds, 34-yard line, neatly done. Ryan Akibi last week had a couple of home run shots. He scored from 64 and 61 yards away from Tony Hildy.
And that's what this offense likes to do. They like to throw that home run ball. You've seen it twice get picked off today. Once from Piatek, once from Hildy. But with Hildy's shoulder the way it is, I'm not so sure they're going to go deep. They're going to have to be a little bit more methodical in moving the football down the field. Akibi's in the backfield.
And now Graven steps up because they expect a blitz. Blitz doesn't come. All alone. This will be a touchdown. It's Schrack again. His 2nd of the day, and Boise State has the lead. Lee Schrack from Tony Hildy on a blown coverage.
There's not anybody within 15 yards, maybe more, of Lee Schrack. And he gets a second touchdown reception of the day. We'll see if we can find the blown coverage here. Akibi lines up in the backfield and then goes in motion to the left side of the formation. We'll see the extra point first.
Erickson has it through 28-24.
Akibi's going to go in motion. You don't see it there. And then there's this little play action here. From ground level, you don't see exactly who blows the coverage, but it might be Melvin Cunningham. You see at the top of your screen because he's turning around saying, hey, was that my guy or your guy? They're in a man-to-man coverage, but they don't cover Lee Schrack. Nobody is responsible for number 11. And right there, you see the mix-up. You see 2 at the very top of your screen. You might have caught it. 2 defenders for Marshall chasing Akibi, and nobody chasing Schrack. So a blown coverage, very unusual for Marshall.
Hildy might not have seen it, but he knew his man was wide open. Sometimes those are the toughest to catch. Lee Schrack's been in the end zone twice today all year long. He had just 2 touchdowns. Boise State, 21 unanswered points, and with 7:51 to go, they have the lead. What has been the difference, Jim, in this second half? I mean, Marshall had their way in the first half.
I think the big difference for Boise is executing their offense and picking up the blitz by Marshall. They've been able to take advantage of some of the things Marshall has been doing defensively, and they've mixed in some new plays. That's a play right there that we haven't seen all day. And Marshall was a little bit confused, actually a lot bit confused.
This ball skids on past and into the end zone. Melvin Cunningham downs it there. There's a relatively happy offensive coordinator right now.
Alan Alan Borges, and you know he's a football coach. You get in there. We spent about 45 minutes with him yesterday. He's showing us film. He is excited about coaching football. He's a guy who does a lot of research, spent some time with the 49ers organization, patterned his offense after the 49ers. A lot of different looks, different formation, different personnel, and has been effective in the second half against Marshall.
Now Todd Donnan and Jim Donnan, the head coach, they have to come up with an answer. They trail by 4. They go the same way. Chris Parker bounced wide, and he's going to lose a couple of yards. Knocked out at the 18, and all of a sudden the holes that were there for Chris Parker earlier have closed down. Vince Watson knocked him out of bounds.
And you know, you were asking what the difference in the second half is. We said they've made some adjustments, but I think you can also go beyond X's and O's. I think the difference in the second half is that Boise has come out and played fired up football. You see Joe O'Brien, number 14, actually gets the penetration that forces Chris Parker wide, and then he's got nowhere to go.
Down the middle, complete, 32-yard line, first down. That's Ricky Carter in his first reception of the day.
We'll see if the experience for Marshall really takes effect here in this fourth quarter. They're down in this football game 28-24, only the second time all season they've been down, but this is a team that is playoff tested.
The only game they really trailed in was against Appalachian State. They lost that game 24-14. The only common opponent. This is the first meeting between these two schools. Boise State beat Happy State last week, 17-14. Pump and go, and great coverage by number 16, DeJuan Miller. He went up with Sean Goodwin.
That was a little hook and go, and as you described, Todd Donnan is going to pump the football and then try to go deep, but DeJuan Miller, great coverage. He did not bite on the pump at all.
You just marvel at a guy who's playing with a handicap that would prevent most of us from participating in sports, let alone playing at the 1AA level.
And let alone playing 3 sports. In high school, he played basketball and baseball, too.
And he was a 3,000-yard career rusher in high school. DeJuan Miller, quite a story. Second down and 10. Boise State comes with the blitz package. Complete to Danny White, the tight end, for about 3 or 4. Derek Clay tackled him almost immediately. Donnan looks to the sideline where he'll get the play from Chris Scelfo, his O-coordinator. Third down and about 6.5.
You know, we've talked about Jim Lanzo, 65, the center for Marshall. His first snap of the day in the shotgun over the head of Todd Donnan. But he's played well since then. They were worried about him replacing J.D. Cyrus, but he's done very well. All his snaps have been true.
Blitz coming. Donnan reads it. Tackled at the 40. Short of a first down is Goodwin. Derek Clay made the hit again. So it'll be 4th down and 2. And you have to punt the football here. You're at your own 40, and there's still more than 6 minutes left.
When you have a punter with the capability of Travis Colquitt, when you're the #1 team in the nation in net punting, you want to try to back them up. There's 6 minutes to go. You have confidence in your defense, and Jim Donnan is going to punt this football away. He doesn't want to. It's only 4th and 1, and they have actually faked the ball a few times.
Not here. Colquitt, high punt into the wind. Adams backs up, fair catch, 21-yard line. 5:49 left in the football game, and all of a sudden Boise State is in a situation they have not been in all day. They want to work the clock now.
Absolutely. You're going to see the ball given to Casey Adams, but I don't think if you're Pokey Allen or Alan Borges, you go completely away from what has gotten you back in this football game, and that's the ability to throw the football and run it. And I don't think you just can go directly to running the football, trying to run this clock out. Execute your offense as you have been doing all this second half.
Casey Adams stops in the hole and is dropped after a 2-yard pickup. That was that old counter gap play. And Albert Barber, when he arrives, you are generally through.
there you see the difference between a Casey Adams and a Chris Parker on that last play. Casey Adams gets into the hole, and he's a stop-and-go runner. He was going to stop, try to change direction, but he couldn't do it, and he gets just back to the line of scrimmage. Chris Parker, on the other hand, would have run right into the defender, probably would have gained 2, 3, maybe even 4 yards.
And back in there is Willie Bowens. Full house backfield. They've run a strange-looking option out of this a couple of times. Now they throw it, and it's just a 2-yard pickup to Del Graven. Wait, you can throw that play now aside because Marshall knows how to defend it.
Well, no, the thing about that play is we talked about the full house backfield, and they had run the option off that earlier in the game. This time they fake the option, and then they go to the pass play. I like the play, even though it only gains 2 yards. Alan Borges always runs a play setting up future plays.
Shannon Morrison, though, was not fooled. The All-Southern Conference strong safety. 3rd down and 8. Hildy's got plenty of time. And he throws it behind Howski. Now check that, it's Ryan Akibi, the intended target. So they worked about a minute and a half or so off the clock, but Marshall will get it back. 4:17 left in the football game.
Watch all the time that Tony Hildy has, as you described, Drew, but now watch when he gets a little bit of pressure. Now he's looking as to where he can go instead of continuing to look downfield. It's almost as if he didn't believe he had that much time and started to look at the rush rather than keep his eyes on his receivers.
Danny Weeks kicks it deep. Theron Todd dropped almost immediately. Jason Payne made the tackle. 34-yard punt, so great field position now with 4:09 to go for Marshall, and they trail by 4. 43-yard line.
Marshall needing a touchdown, not a field goal, but it's not as if they kicked a lot of field goals during the course of the year. Only 8 attempts up to this point. They do have a 43-yarder by Openlander earlier in this ball game, but Marshall needs to get into the end zone to win the football game.
Pretty shot. Plenty of snow in the background. Skiers like it. Donnan, strike down the middle, and breaking underneath was Stephon Reed, the linebacker.
And now what you're going to see from Boise is just kind of a loose zone. You certainly don't want to go to any kind of prevent right here, but you're teaching your linebackers, get deep drops. And look how deep the linebacker, Stephon Reed, is. He's back there with the wide receiver, and Donnan cannot get it over the linebacker. Good coverage, good zone coverage by Boise.
2nd down and 10. Double slot both ways for Donnan. Little hook route, midfield, complete to Theron Todd. That'll pick up 7 for the Thundering Herd.
Well, they're at midfield. We say we want to get deep drops from the defense, but you don't want to give huge cushions and just allow the 6-7 yard gain, because with 3:42 and counting, Marshall still has plenty of time.
Donnan, a senior quarterback who grew up with the game, very comfortable, very poised. Boise State has 9 guys, now 10 on the line of scrimmage. Slant pattern complete, 1st down, 42-yard line. Good throw as Donnan paid the price. Making the catch, his first of the day, is Williams. And he's not even listed on the depth chart.
Great coverage by Rasheed Gale, number 20, but a great throw. As a matter of fact, he might have been on top of him before that ball arrived. Rasheed Gale, the unanimous choice all-conference player in the Big Sky.
Again, they blitz Donnan, and Donnan had a man, but he hit the umpire. Knocked his hat off, in fact.
That's going to happen from time to time when you get the officials in the middle of the action. And we're going to see Todd Donnan. You're right. He's got a receiver coming across the middle, open. The umpire tries to avoid it, tries to get out of the way, but right on the noggin.
Great pass defense. Second down, Donnan is sacked back at midfield. Brian Smith.
I think Chris Wing was there too, the linebacker. He's the walk-on who served a year in the Air Force. But watch the pressure. They're going to get 5 men coming. And you see Travis Thompson getting some pressure there, but then beating the block of number 60, Jamie Williams, was Chris Wing.
Timeout, Marshall, 2:48 to play. 28-24, Boise State.
Play of the game on defense for Boise. See Marshall holding hands to combat the crowd noise. And as we see the snap coming, number 56, Chris Wing, is going to beat the block of Jamie Wilson, number 60, the right tackle. Wilson had not given up a sack throughout the course of the regular season, but here in the playoffs, a big play by Chris Wing.
Third down and 18 for Marshall with 2:48 left. They trail 28-24. Donnan complete, short of a first down of the 39. Goodwin made the catch, and Derek Clay provided the coverage. It's fourth down, but they, in all probability, will go for it with the clock moving inside 2:35. Fourth down and 6. They need the 32-yard line.
But I'll tell you, that's a big pickup. They pick up about 12 yards on the play, and 4th and 6 beats 4th and about 22.
They blitz Donnan again. He throws it. Knocked away. Look who made the play. DeJuan Miller. He read it beautifully, and Boise State will take over on downs.
DeJuan Miller's only interception of the year came in a playoff game against North Texas to help a 3-point victory for the Broncos, and here it comes up with perhaps the biggest play of the year for Boise on defense. Great coverage. We talked all day about Marshall loving the slant patterns. They go to their bread and butter. Boise knows it, and they defend it.
Not over yet. Casey Adams wrapped up at the 40-yard line. 2:07, 2:06, clock moving, and now a timeout. They stop it with 2:06, so Marshall will have just one timeout remaining. The championship game in 1AA football will be played next week in Huntington, West Virginia at Marshall Stadium. Marshall will either be there as participants or spectators. Youngstown State will be there. And right now, Marshall has to overcome a 4-point deficit, and they don't have the football. We wish to take this opportunity to thank NCAA 1AA Football Committee Representative Marino Kasem. We talked to him at halftime. And from Marshall University Athletic Director Lee Moon, head football coach Jim Donnan, his staff, and Sports Information Director Gary Richter. And from Boise State, their athletic director Gene Blameyer. Pokey Allen, their head football coach, his entire staff, and Max Corbett for all of their help this entire week in getting us prepared for this 1AA showdown.
There you see Mark Piatek, the man with the jacket on, who...
Adams got some room, and now it closes down at the 42-yard line. And Marshall elects not to call a timeout here. They do have one left. So this is another huge play. Third down, one first down for Boise State. And the game will, in all probability, be over. Clock moving inside 140.
Excuse me, Drew. I think that's good clock management by Marshall not to take the first down here. Here you see 11 up. Look at this. Boise State came with 11 men on the line of scrimmage and then shift to the flood pattern formation.
Hildy throwing, and Adams is very close but short by a yard. They came with a play in a formation they had not shown all day, and it worked but maybe not.
Well, Marshall takes their last time out, and it's a funny play because what they do is they bring all 11 men up on the line of scrimmage and then shift to a formation where they have trips on the right side. Now, in professional football, you couldn't do that. You can look at all their players are on the line of scrimmage, and now they're going to shift to their formation. Now, in pro football, you can't shift from an illegal formation into a legal one, but in college football, you're allowed to do this. You get trips on the right side, then they're just going to flood the zone and complete the pass to Adams. It just falls short of the first down, but it's an interesting play from Alan Borges and his staff.
Shannon Morrison, the strong safety, made the tackle, and that's one of the reasons Marshall is here, because of Morrison and Roger Johnson, their safeties. They will not be fooled. They've played a lot of football the last few years. 59th game that Marshall has played in the last 4 years. That's an extra season.
It really is. And right now, I don't know what Pokey Allen is deciding over here, but it's fourth and about a half a yard.
There's no decision. You have to punt.
I think you punt the football, but he took an awfully long time to get his punting team on the field, and now they are finally going to come on the field.
You don't want to give them the ball at the 48-yard line, 47-yard line. 1:20 left. Weeks in the game. And Williams is back at the 20. Line drive punt. This is returnable. Weeks gobbled up almost immediately. 28 is Jason Payne. He's made a couple of coverage tackles today. So here we go. 1:12. That's a lot of time, especially when you consider that every first down they stop the clock in college football. And Marshall needs a touchdown. They trail 28-24. Along with Jim Ryan, I'm Drew Goodman. They need to move it 77 yards.
No timeouts.
Donnan swings it out to Parker, and he gets maybe 3 yards. That's it. And he does fall out of bounds. That's about the only good thing about that play. Actually, he just got back to the line of scrimmage.
And if you're Marshall, you want to continue to throw the ball downfield. Certainly you want to get the ball in the hands of Chris Parker, but not a guy on the swing pass like that's going to break away for the real long game.
Jim, do you change your philosophy here if you're Tom Mason defensively for Boise State? Do you sit back or you gamble still?
Not from what he's been doing in the second half. And that's been really mixing up the coverages and the blitzes.
Donnan's got it complete to the 42-yard line to Goodwin. Good throw and a catch. The clock will stop as they set the football. 58 seconds to go.
I think now, near midfield, if you're Boise, you got to do something to try to disrupt the offense. And yes, bring somebody off the corner, Brian Smith or Stephen Reed. Donnan's the type of quarterback in this situation. If you just sit back, he can pick you apart.
Pressure coming. Donnan sacked and he loses the ball. Marshall falls on it. It's Chris Parker. Oh, man.
And it's Chris Wing once again with the sack and the caused fumble.
But you got to get up to the line of scrimmage and get it snapped. Again, no timeouts. They'll snap this football with about 30 seconds left. Donnan's got a man out of bounds. It's Williams inside the 40-yard line.
Wow, what a great show of poise by Todd Donnan. After the fumble, he comes right back up with no break in between, clock running, and is able to put that ball right on the money, get his receiver out of bounds, and get inside the 40-yard line of Boise State.
For a guy who doesn't show up in the media guide on the depth chart or anywhere, he's a pretty good player, Williams. 28-24, Boise State clinging to a 4-point lead. Marshall, 24 seconds left and 39 yards away from the end zone. Blitz coming, it's picked up down the middle and broken up nicely by Keith Walk-Green.
Here you're going to see Todd Donnan go back to throw. And for about the third or fourth time today, he avoids the interception as Walk-Green gets his hands on it. Todd Donnan has made a couple ill-advised throws right into coverage, right through the hands of Boise State defenders.
ticks left, 2nd down and 10. They need to get a touchdown. Donnan throwing, batted away. Rasheed Gale, the old Big Sky corner. Ricky Carter was the intended target.
He's going to go to Carter just trying to do the out move, and his feet really aren't set. Look at the wobble on that throw. That's not a typical Donnan throw. He doesn't have the strongest of arms, but he's usually very accurate. But he's throwing off his back foot because of the pressure, and that buys enough time for Gale to come and knock the ball away.
13 seconds left. 39 yards away. 3rd down. Blitz coming. Donnan. Away, it'll be 4th down. Rasheed Gale, and more importantly, there's 6 seconds left. This will be the final snap of the football game, barring the bizarre.
Boise State, Drew, has done a great job. They bring 5, they blitz a little bit. They don't bring the whole house, but they keep Keith Green right in the middle, playing a deep center field, so he's playing man free. He's free to go to and help whoever is covering man to man. And because they have to throw so deep, Walk Green has been there to defend.
Here comes the Big Bend play. And they blitz this one also. Donnan throws it up. Batted around, hits the turf. Boise State is going to the 1AA championship game. Boise State 3-8 a year ago.
And I think Pokey Allen will not only ride down Broadway on a horse, he might do it in those shorts.
And he might just keep on going right to Huntington, West Virginia, where they will take on the Penguins of Youngstown State next Saturday for all the marbles.
The 5th winningest coach in Division II history in his years at Portland State. 2 times in the championship game for Division II in just his 2nd year as head coach of Boise State. We talked about the turnaround that they had just 3-8 a year ago. Turning around, they're now 13-1 and headed for the finals.
28-24, the final score. That was fun. We'll come back, chat some more about it right after this timeout on Prime Network. Boise State comes from 24-7 down and knock off Marshall 28-24. With Jim Ryan, I'm Drew Goodman, and down on the field is Pokey Allen, the head coach of Boise State. Hey, Pokey, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, was there any point in this game where you thought maybe you were overmatched?
Well, yeah, I thought we were overmatched the whole first half, but, you know, I knew we wouldn't quit. We haven't quit all year, and I thought if we could score again, we'd get back in it and see how they would react to being close.
Pokey, I got 2 questions for you. Number 1, at halftime, did you make adjustments X's and O's wise, or did you just get the kids a little bit more motivated, tell them to play harder?
We made a lot of adjustments on defense. The offense hadn't run even a quarter of their offense, so we didn't know about the offense, but the defense, we made a lot of adjustments, and Tom Mason did a great job.
You had Hildy, your quarterback, hurt in the 2nd quarter. He sits out the end of the first half, the beginning of the 3rd quarter. What was your thinking of putting him back in? Because Piatek was really moving the team, although he didn't put points on the board in that 3rd quarter.
Well, we like Mark, but, you know, Tony bought us here, and he wanted to go back in, and he bought us all the way, and so we're going to ride the horse that bought us.
Hey, Pokey, again, congratulations. Good luck next week. It'll be Youngstown State and Boise at Marshall Stadium. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
28-24. We'll come back and have a final thought for you right after we step aside. 28-24 on their home blue turf. 10-0 this year. and headed to a national championship game. Here's the winning touchdown. They trailed 24-21. Lee Schrack comes free of blown coverage against a veteran secondary. One of the few mistakes they made all day in the Marshall secondary, but Schrack scooted in.
If there's a surprise in the fact that Boise won this football game, it's how they won it with a blown coverage by Marshall. This is the veteran team that really doesn't do a lot of that. They've got Shannon Morrison and Roger Johnson, perhaps the two best safeties in 1AA football. But that man, Tony Hildy, comes off the bench after getting hurt in the second quarter, and I think you really have to give a lot of credit to that young sophomore.
He was amazing. Boise State won a national title in 1980. They'll have another shot in '94. Stick around.